Somebody said to me the other day, "You're the most famous person in the world by far." I said, "No, I'm not. No, I'm not." They said, "Yes, you are." I said, "No." They said, "Who's more famous?" I said, "Jesus Christ."
Yeah, he and I have to definitely debate. That's what I love.
Good shit. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Oh, shit. You know what I forgot? Let the hair down. Yeah, what's going on? Big JC back again on another Whick panel. I'm just gonna adjust my chair so we can peep the magic shirt coming out as a Wizards of the Coast's most valiant warrior, the bravest defender of the big corporation. So anyway, so we've got a little bit of prep work that I did for this, not a ton. I will admit, mostly because this is a panel debate. I'm not expecting to have to carry an entire conversation on my own. And also I'm kind of concerned that this is probably not going to be like a super intellectual conversation, or rather, it's not going to be a super economic based one. I don't know what we're going to be measuring, like, whoa, are they a good company? I don't know what the specific metric we're measuring by is. I'm assuming that it's probably going to be mostly like sort of just vague generalities, nothing concrete, no stats hard stats required. I will happily take the L for if anybody requests anything from me and I have to look it up in the middle of the debate. I will take the L if I find, like, I think that's important, by the way, like, acknowledge up front how much prep you did and where your prep fails. My prep definitely failed in like getting actual hard data to support any of these positions, but also this, not like this is a political discussion or a policy discussion or a history, anything like that, where like it feels like this is probably going to be more of a vibesy one. It's probably going to be mostly about how woke Wizards is, especially if Claw is in there. Yeah, so the funny meme about tonight is that Pontius Claw is our opponent, one of our opponents for tonight. And Radham the condescending Aussie, not Brit, because I got that wrong. Radham the condescending Aussie is on our team tonight. I actually got a couple really funny tweets. Hold on. Oh god, I didn't clear off my desktop. Shoot. Let's do that real quick, just in case I want to pull anything up. If anybody ends up coming here from my LGS, I'm very sorry for disappointing you and defending WOTC. Had to be done. Somebody's got to do it. Oh. Oops. I can't get into the pit. Aw, I wanted to get in the pit. The pit is locked to me. Anyways, so I had a couple of really funny, there were a couple of people who like quote tweeted Wick's announcement tweet and were like, hey, Radham is on this panel. Good luck, JC. And I'm like, he's on my team. But yeah, no, this should be an interesting convo, fun conversation. You know, I'm not staking a ton to this. I'm sort of in the middle, like, generally speaking, just because, like, I'm one of those people who thinks that, like, you know, we can criticize companies on, like, their most egregious actions, but for the most part, we just kind of have to accept that companies will company. And going after WOTC, I'm expecting people to go after WOTC for some sort of generic, like, anti-corporation or anti, like, 2020 corporation kind of thing, where it's like, oh, they're too woke, or they're greedy, or like any of this. And like, I'm super uninterested in like going after those avenues, just because like those are accusations you could level at like literally every corporation. One of the big things that I'm wondering if it will get brought up is so Universes Beyond is like their Fortnite-ification, and I hate that. But that's gonna be one of those where it's like, well, you know, every company kind of does that, so like I don't know what you want. So the woke thing, again, every company does that. The only specific thing is like the OGL, which was the open game license. And the open game license was the D&D, like you can use our rules to create things kind of thing. And am I just not cool enough?
Facebook group before even joining, because if I was banned when he applied, and he was pretty much cooked on Twitter because I sent him a tweet he posted in February of this year where he pretty much called the entire Facebook group a fascist echo chamber full of assholes, and he was banned because of that before he tried to apply, and then he was complaining that I banned him before he tried to join the group.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, I hope he brings it up. I will destroy him.
How's it going, everybody?
I
Hey, Jesse.
understand where your name comes from now.
Oh, do you? Yeah,
I get
everybody
it,
says that when they
yeah.
talk to me for the first time.
Yeah.
I've got physical branding.
It's good to meet you.
Good to meet you
We're
as
on
well.
opposite sides of this, but it's good to meet you.
Yeah. Good to see
Have
you
you seen
again,
my new
Glow.
video, Jesse?
No, I have not seen your. I have not seen your newest video. I was watching.
Fucking
What the fuck was I watching? I know I'm the worst. I'm the worst Pontius Glaw orbiter. I will fully admit that.
Come on, it is the funniest one until now. There's people having a laugh in the comments all the time.
JC, where is your accent from?
My accent?
Yeah,
I'm Midwestern.
Midwestern. Okay.
I'm sorry.
You just sound like no. You sound like people I grew up with. That's why I was like,
Oh. Well, sounds like you grew up in a quality part of the country, give or take.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I sound Russian for being Italian. At least I'm not accused of being Italian American.
Watch it there, buddy. How are you doing, Whick?
Oh, you know, I've taken a lot of psychic damage today from
True.
autism, but you know, we're still going through. Okay, we're getting it done.
As long as this one doesn't become an Israel-Palestine or genocide debate, I think we'll be good, right?
If you guys somehow make this into another, there are two debates that everything always goes to. There are two topics, I should say, that every debate always tends to
Can we guess
go
them?
towards. It's the trans debate and it's the Israel-Palestine debate.
I wasn't
no
going to
matter
guess
what
the trans.
topics, right?
I wasn't going to guess trans.
I rewatched
matter
the
what
40K
topics come up,
panel, and
they
there's a
always
moment,
come up.
there's a moment in the 40K panel where all of a sudden somebody says something, and like Wick's like, I will not have this be another Israel-Palestine debate.
Listen, genocide is justified as long as it is against aliens. As a 40K fan, I think we can all stand behind that.
Sure, human supremacy. I'm with you, right? Like
Chaos
aliens come,
supremacy.
I'm going to take them out. But yeah.
Chaos supremacy. Remember that you have Erebus on your side, so.
Let me DM these.
We don't take
slackers.
them.
Hold on.
No, right? What's going on?
What are we missing? We're missing Hunt. We're missing Ironhide. We're missing
the Radhom.
Radhom's streaming. I see him. I don't know where.
He's just doing the prima donna as usual.
It's really funny because I feel like I was very mean to him when I covered the panel, the 40K panel, but he messaged me and he was like, I read the intro or I listened to the intro. You seem like a very rational person. I'm like, oh, it's good that you didn't listen too far then.
Oh, he said he's in timeout in the server.
Uh-oh. What did he do?
Roles. Okay, I had to get them both roles. Well, we have it set up so if you have like if you're joining for the first time, and I always forget this, there's like a time where you can't do anything, and we did this because we had a lot of bots that come in and start posting gore and porn
and Sunday orbiters.
Oh yeah, but they're a different kind of special.
Different kind of bot.
Yeah. Okay. Hello.
Hello.
Greetings.
Okay, that's two of the
Is this
three.
No, it's not everyone.
I love the beard, brother.
Oh man,
like
his
it.
beard's better
Looking
than
good.
mine.
It is. It is. But we can't hear you if you're talking.
Oops.
Oh, there we go.
Why
That's
do
the
I
important bit.
echo?
Let me turn this off. Let me try to get my whole backdrop thing going.
I thought the green was a feature.
Is my green screen, like, is that working okay? Does it look like I'm in a crusty basement?
Yeah,
Good,
you're
that's
good.
what I was going for. Stop laughing! Danny knows because he's
It
talked to me
echoes
before.
from everyone, I don't know why.
Oh, you're really quiet at home. Let me see if I can.
So I'm getting lots of echoes from everyone. I don't know why. It could probably something on my end.
I think it is because I
I'll
don't
figure
think
that
any
out.
of the rest of us are getting echoes. Is that correct?
I'm not.
No echo.
I'm not getting echoes, but I also, even turning rad up to 200%, I can barely hear them.
Can you hear
Do I
me at
sound okay?
boosted?
A little
You
bit
mean-
better, yeah.
You sound good, Ironcaster.
Okay.
Yeah, your mic is like always open. It looks like Radham.
Don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, for
You got a
some
nice
reason it
fancy
has
green
you.
border.
Early. And I'll hunt down the hunt while you guys fix that.
Yeah. Also, I love your mustache.
Thank
It's
you.
quite nice.
The trick is to use an electric hair straightener.
And dark magic.
My grandfather.
Yes. Wahaha.
My grandfather has for years had a mustache, a much more finely tightly curled one, but it's like he's had it for like the last like 35, 40 years that I've been alive. And for him, it was always this mustache wax that smells. I don't know how he did it. Smells exactly like Fruit Loops.
That's amazing.
Hunt, can you say a few things just to make sure that you are equalized with everyone else?
Yeah, talking for volume
Yep,
testing.
you're good. And if you got a camera, throw it on.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's how this is gonna go. We're all here, and I want to start relatively on time. I'll introduce the topic. I'll say hi to my guests, and once I've done that, I'm gonna give you all, and I stress this, please, concise opening thoughts. Introduce yourself, tell people who you are, what your thoughts are on the topic at hand, and then we'll get into the meat of the discussion. If during the discussion, for whatever reason, you feel like you can't get in, or everyone's talking over you and things like that, just DM me, raise your hand, get my attention, and I'll make sure to give you space. Are there any questions before we go live?
Yes. Does anybody have any tips on what to do when everyone else's voice is echoing on Discord? Because I have not had this problem before. I have
wish
no
I
idea what's going
I think
wrong.
it is because your headphones are set as the default for the microphone too, so the voice just goes echo. Check the settings of Discord.
See, I shouldn't be getting any feedback into my microphone because I'm on headphones. And nothing's changed in my Discord settings since the last we did this. This is very bizarre.
Hunt, what's your dog's name? Very important.
His name is Leo.
It's a good dog name.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, well, hopefully you can get that fixed, Radham. But I do need to go live, so that's what we're gonna do.
Yep.
Okay, here
Everybody
we go.
say a prayer.
Okay. I think I got this working, gang. Welcome, one and all, to yet another episode of Whick TV. It's a cross-ideological space, brothers and sisters, where we come together to talk about issues, both political and cultural, from the silly to the serious. And I can't think of a more serious topic to discuss than Wizards of the Coast. Wizards of the Coast is a company that took D&D, Dungeons and Dragons, from TSR back in the day, many moons ago, and before some of you were even born, and they've had their flagship product, the Magic the Gathering, under their care since its inception almost. We are going to talk today about some of the recent things that they have done, some of the directions Wizards of the Coast is taking, and whether or not overall they have been good stewards of hobby gaming Have they been a boon or a bane to people who love collectible card games, people who love Dungeons and Dragons? Have they made the game better or the worse? Have they made the atmosphere, the place better or worse? And we've got a great group to talk about it today, and I want to start with Pontius Glaw. Give us what you got, Pontius.
Hello guys, I'm Pontius Glow, also known as Danny Fortuna or The Pontius. I am the creator of on a Warhammer 40k group called Warhammer 40k Heresy Posting, and the creator of a YouTube channel called The Pontius, where I discuss 40k lore of various kinds, especially dark 40k lore that almost nobody else discusses. I am openly anti-woke, openly anti-woke agendas infiltrating hobbies and such, like it has happened with WOTC and Magic the Gathering and D&D, and I think that in general D&D and Magic the Gathering are in turbulent waters, we could say, because especially of the changes and choices that WOTC has done for their products, even if they are their flagships, they are now much discussed as being either bad or being pretty much on the dying end of the product for collectibles of cards or even RPG tabletop games.
Okay, well, thank you for being here. I'm sure we'll get into the specifics in the open. Thank you again. Next time, first time guest on my channel, but we'll see how he does. The Hunt, please.
All right, hey. So I'm the Hunt or Hunter. I don't have any streams to plug or anything. As far as my position, I think Wizards has been doing awesome for Magic the past couple of years. I think they're doing great under the pressure of Hasbro. And I think they've been great steward for the game. Yeah.
Cool. I guess
Keep it
we'll
short
get
and
into the
sweet.
specifics as we go. Next up, we have another first-time guest on my show, Ironhide. Please, what do you have?
Oh, you mean me?
Yeah. Is that your name? Did I get it wrong?
Ironcaster.
Ironcaster. I am sorry. I apologize. Ironcaster. My bad. 10 points from Gryffindor. Go ahead.
No, it's fine. I like big robots, so I'll take it as a compliment. Yeah, so I'm Ironcaster, and you know, I can be found all around the internet talking about Sentai and Tokusatsu, comic books, movies, tabletop games, and I think that Wizards of the Coast has kind of largely been subject to a lot of mismanagement that's led to a lot of the bigger problems we've had with two of the biggest flagships in the tabletop gaming space.
I guess we'll find out how in the open discussion. No, Ironcaster, thank you for being here. I really appreciate you. Next up, Harmony Ginger. What do you have?
Hi, I'm Harmony, at GingerBlast on Twitter and Harmony_Ginger on YouTube. I'm not here to argue anything about Magic the Gathering because I am not a Magic the Gathering player and have in fact been Magic the Gathering free since 2009. However, I am a role player and I do enjoy the early iterations of D&D 5th edition, as well as some prior editions that WOTC has published. I have seen in Wizards' hands what started as a solid system be tainted by thoughtless design, the move towards D&D as a lifestyle brand, and scandal after scandal. However, I will not contend that WOTC is ruining the hobby, because I think in D&D's case, they are not able to. There are other RPGs and earlier editions of D&D out there that players will choose to play those instead. In Magic the Gathering's case, I think that answer is a little more complex because of the culture around it and the high price to buy into the hobby. That's my position.
Okay, we'll get into it as we go. Thank you for being here. The JC. He's been on my show a couple times. Hi, how you doing?
Hi. Happy to be here. I'm the Big JC, for obvious reasons. At the Big JC Lives on Twitter, at the Big JC on YouTube, and then at the Big JC on Twitch. I'm a small-time sort of hobby political streamer, but I'm sort of the opposite of Ginger, because while I have been D&D free since basically high school, I have been an on and off again Magic player basically since I was 11. I played Magic dedicatedly for, probably like 8 years, like trying to grind and like doing that kind of stuff. I even went under a different name, 2 into Blue, which was a reference to Laboratory Maniac, which is a competitive commander card nobody remembers except for old people. I have played D&D, but like I said, it was very loosely in high school, so like I don't remember a whole lot. And I haven't kept up to date on like the most recent stuff. I think Wizards is a good company, all things considered. I think that a lot of the things that they've that people will criticize them for, the same accusations can be leveled at basically any other games company or any company really. And I think that a lot of the specific ones, there are reasonable explanations and or defenses for.
Okay, we will talk about it as we go. Thank you for being here. Last but certainly not least, he's been on my show a few times now. Real Radhom, what do you have?
So, like, Wizards of the Coast isn't perfect, no company is, but under their stewardship, role-playing, like Dungeons & Dragons has led the spearhead for role-playing games to become more popular than they have ever been. Their early embrace of things like the OGL, the Open Gaming License, definitely helped with that initial growth, which then exploded when they abandoned the OGL in 4th edition, and a lot of those publishers who were making things for D&D went and made their own games. So Wizards big enough that even their fuck-ups are good for the industry in general.
Cool. And with that, let's get into it. I guess I'll first start by asking Pontius to elaborate. You mentioned some of their design choices recently. That are some things that you have real big problems with. Can you give us some examples of that, please? Then maybe we can discuss them.
I wonder how you guys can actually hear me, because even my phone is telling me I don't have any internet, so I don't know how this works at the moment. But
Wizardry.
Yes.
Hey,
Yeah,
Magic.
A
The
wizard
Gathering.
on some post somewhere did it.
No, because like I can't even refresh I can't even refresh YouTube. I don't know what is happening. Anyway, the problem I have with Wizards of the Coast and the way they have taken D&D and in general even Magic the Gathering, even if I have not played Magic the Gathering ever in my life, I have seen just the controversies, is that they are trying to take everything that made hobbies great and interesting and sanitize it to oblivion, at least from what I've seen. The systems they have introduced for D&D are so simple and pretty much so stupid at this point for the newest edition from what I've seen, that the game pretty much has shifted to being just make up your own story without not that many systems applied to it. It is why many people, in fact, are going back to version 3.5, and not many people are appreciating the newest versions or the newest stories that Wizard of the Coast is trying to publish, because they are not really that popular. My main problem is not even with the system, because as Ginger said, you can pretty much personalize it. You can play it however you want. You can play older versions, newer versions, or in my case, like I want. I play 40k versions like Rogue Trader, Dark Heresy, and such. But for my way of seeing things, a universe stays interesting as long as it is made interesting by its writing. And from what I've seen from Wizard of the Coast and such, they're sanitizing everything so much, starting from their own stories that now have removed pretty much any evil that there is in it. In fact, they are pretty much sanitized to oblivion, and there are people even accusing them in the most recent stories of going, there is no need for a hero in a universe that has no villains and nothing bad in it. And people pretty much have to make up their own stories for it. And then you have Magic the Gathering that has gone the way of just making collabs with everything. There is Fallout cards, there is Warhammer cards, there is Lord of the Ring with Race Swaps cards for some fucking reason. But that way they have went with this is that pretty much they made kits just using other IPs to try and extend the lifetime of theirs, all the while denaturizing the game and flooding the market with so many cards that now the market is completely destroyed on that side.
Let's get into some of these.
I realize I'm not a D&D person, but I gotta ask. I thought the point was to write your own campaign. Like, if I ever DM'd, I'm writing my own thing. I'm using the system, but I'm writing my own campaign. Like, I thought that was more of a normal thing. And encouraging that, especially, like, the company encouraging that by, like, writing fewer of them or, like, providing better tools for writing your own seems like a good thing to me.
I mean, they aren't encouraging that much when they are pretty much striking down every single game that even tries to use a system similar to D&D. They want you to play D&D.
What do you mean striking out down any game that uses a system
That
similar
they have
to
tried
D&D?
to
Do you have
copyright their
any
own
examples?
system. Not precisely, but I've read news articles about it. But it was long ago. I don't even
Are you talking
remember
about
the names
the
of what they tried.
OGL 1.1?
Could be. Could
Yeah,
be.
so they tried to
Was
revise
long
the
ago.
open games license and make it so that they could there were more restrictions on like what you could put in things, and there was also new qualifications for like if you when you had to start, like WOTC owned everything that you wrote because it was made using their proprietary stuff, and then they required you to like pay out revenue above a certain like profit threshold, and then they backtracked that because of fan backlash. So if anything, them like taking reception from their like feedback from their community on a very unpopular decision and even backtracking and like saying, okay, we fucked up, we shouldn't have done that, is an indication of a good company that listens to its consumers, listens to its fans, and responds to them.
Okay. Go ahead. Anyone.
The thing I wanted to kind of comment on was the statements about the characters, the original the original, creating your own world. That is, I think, what most people do what many people will do, and that sort of is a lot of the mindset that Wizards of the Coast is going in. They're trying to more heavily market with a lot of known properties. You see this with Magic the Gathering, where they are doing more and more of these commander decks that have these crossovers because at the end of the day, they sell. I can't argue that because look, people like their Fallout, people like their Doctor Who, and plus if it has good if the cards do have good mechanics or they are a new power card, people are going to go to them because they want to compete there.
Go on.
Oh,
Does that make
so
oh,
and
go ahead, sorry.
no,
I need to try and
Okay,
fix
hold
my
on.
connection.
You guys
I'll
are
be
all
back in a
super
minute.
polite, right? I get it. Like,
All
oh,
right,
you
does
go, no,
does
you
them
go, no, you
making
go. Oh,
products
shut
that
up.
will
Come on,
sell
just go.
does them making products that will sell make them a bad company? Like what do we mean by bad company? Like it's pretty nebulous, it's not very specific. Like is this in terms of fiduciary responsibility or is this in terms of like their community response? Because both of those metrics to me they seem great on. So
Is that
I think a lot of the issue comes down to what many for the last couple of years have been holding up as woke, and I kind of hate to throw the word out, but that's
it was going
where
to
a
come
lot
up.
of the
That's
it's a
going
lot
for
of
it.
the cultural mentality that's going into the products
Can you give us an
where
example of that? Can you elaborate on a specific example where you think that the cultural wokeness, to lack of a better word, of WOTC has damaged the hobby? Because I want to remind everyone of the topic. We're not talking about their fiduciary responsibility.
Sorry.
We're talking about no, it's fine, But we're talking about has WOTC, Wizards of the Coast, been good for the hobby? Are they good for Dungeons and Dragons as a hobby and for Magic the Gathering as a hobby, gaming in general as a hobby? So I want you to be specific, Ironcaster, please. If you want to say that woke is a problem, can you be specific, please? Go ahead.
Yeah, so one such example I can point to is how, for example, on popular website Drive Through RPG has a lot of the old classic titles that are available, and just on sort of one of the big things that kind of kick things off over the years was they put this boilerplate statement on every single product that effect says. We, Wizards, recognize some of the legacy content available on this website does not reflect the values of the Dungeons and Dragons franchise today. Basically, it's it was made under different times that uh, does not reflect our current values. And they've said this similar thing with one of the recent about the making of Dungeons and Dragons books that's to be coming out for the 50th anniversary. To which I would say that if this is the road they want to go down, then they should also do that with a lot of the more recent stuff, because a lot of the values that they ascribe to now, with like for example multiple cultural consultants per book coming out, weren't around for the 2014 release. They weren't around for say the Curse of Strahd. They weren't around for a lot of the more the Tyranny of Dragons. If they want to be fair, if they want to do that, then they should do that for the more modern stuff as well. But it seems like that's not there.
So they're woke for the old stuff, but not woke for the current stuff, is what you're saying? So they're not really woke then? Or
Woke for putting a disclaimer on the old stuff when it's being put in, being resold in modern times. That was the statement?
Yeah.
So
I
wouldn't
think
it be
that's- yeah.
considered woke, like really woke, if they were
Um,
doing it on all the modern products and everything too?
So
It's more of a it's
Just
more of a
pandering for the previous old stuff to make the angry people go away?
I think
No,
it's
it could-
disrespectful of the roots of the hobby. Quite
Disrespectful?
honestly. Yeah, because this hobby is built on what TSR did. I think it's their responsibility to be respectful on the hobby they're building on, respectful of the people who made the hobby that they are building on today.
So I see you're wearing a Fallout
I think it's
shirt.
okay to be
Um,
disrespectful
yeah, go ahead,
disrespectful
Red.
of Gary Gygax. He was a bit of a cunt.
Okay. Whatever. I see you're wearing a Fallout shirt. Are you one of the people who thinks that Bethesda has disrespected the Fallout IP ever since they took control of it, or do you think that they've done good things with it?
So I'm kind of a mixed Fallout fan. I'm not really a Fallout fan. I like the shirt. I'm more of a
Sorry.
Fallout New Vegas fan in general. I like Fallout 1 and New Vegas. I'm not too big on Fallout lore though.
Okay.
I wanna. So you said that Gary Gygax was a bit of a cunt. Can you elaborate, Radhom? I'm just very curious.
He was a gender essentialist who thought that women were functionally biologically incapable of enjoying
not what he said.
tabletop RPGs.
Yeah, can I see it?
No,
Can I
that's
see
not
where
what it
he
said.
said that,
Bring up the
please?
quote. Read the quote. He
What
did
did he
not say women
actually
were
say?
incapable. He said women were less interested in playing D&D. He was talking about D&D First Edition, which was a war game.
Isn't that
Less
something
women
you
are
can
interested
measure
in
by
war games.
sales too? Yeah.
He did not say we were less capable.
Well,
He
I
said we were less
apologize for
interested.
using the term incapable. But he thought that there was from what I
Okay.
understand, he thought that there was a biological thing that meant that women were less likely to be able to enjoy RPGs.
Do you play Warhammer?
I play many games.
Okay. So yeah, let's talk about this then, because he was talking about the early editions of D&D, the editions that Gary Gygax was in, and those were more war games than RPGs like we have today. And if you go to any war game convention at all, any war game meet, how many women do you see there? Not as many as men, right?
A few,
You see
a number.
some.
Not
Yeah, you
as
see a
many,
few.
I will admit that.
Okay.
There are not as many. There are way fewer women than men at these events,
Yeah.
and that's because women are less interested in war games.
Would we like the
And that's
quote?
okay.
I'm still
Yeah, let's
listening.
get
I'm just going to mute myself to welcome in a couple of raids.
So I think I found the quote. As I've often said, I'm a biological determinist, and there's no question that male and female brains are different. It is apparent to me that by and large, females do not derive the same inner satisfaction from playing games as a hobby that males do. It isn't that females can't play games well, it is just that it isn't a compelling activity to them as is the case for males. That's not what you said, though, Rad, just to be clear.
Yeah, women and men are
Oh.
different, and some women still like war games, but less women do. You can argue as to whether it's biological or cultural. I personally think that there is a biological difference between men and women, but I mean, you can make that argument, but I don't think it's sexist to say less women are interested in war games. I think that's just true.
I mean, it has been showed anyway. Sorry for the problem, but I'm back. It has been showed by the study that has been made by Lego. I don't know if you guys are aware of it. They pretty much found out that even if given the same kind of toys, males and females will play with them differently. And like many others, they have found, like they have tried to give male and female children Batman toys, and while the males wanted to become like Batman, so they recognized themselves more like Batman, females actually recognized not Batman itself, but the fact that they wanted Batman to be more like themselves. So that is one of the main things that has been found out by the recent study of Lego.
So, like Ginger said, that could be social, that could be biological or cultural.
Hold on. I want to take this bit by bit. There's some statements and assertions that have been made. I want to give Radhom a chance to respond to those statements and assertions. So I'm going to give Radhom the floor for a minute and let Radhom respond. And then you can all address him afterwards. Go ahead, Radhom.
Here is the quote that I was referring to. As I have often said, I am a biological determinist, and there is no question that male and female brains are different. It is apparent to me that by and large, females do not derive the same inner satisfaction from playing games as a hobby that males do. It isn't that females can't play games well, it's just that it isn't a compelling activity to them, as is the case for males. Now, with RPGs specifically, I know as many, if not more, women that play tabletop RPGs than men.
But they
And
are
a
different
lot
than
of
they
that
were.
comes
Go
down
ahead.
to, though, the big influx of women to the RPG hobby, to the tabletop space, whereas games like Vampire the Masquerade, it was storytelling style gaming that brought them in, whereas Gary is a man of the wargaming route. So, so I guess it comes down to asking about like
Now, old D&D, like first edition D&D, did come out of chainmail, but I wouldn't call it a war game per se. Gygax set it up and ran it as like a player versus GM kind of like challenge gauntlet. But I don't know that I would call that a war game.
Well, the thing is, it was his group came out of they called it the Castles and Crusades Society, which was a wargaming group.
D&D First Edition has on the subtitle for it is Rules for Fantastic Medieval War Games.
I mean, is this really something we have to quibble over? Like, whether or not it was a war game? Like, I think the statement, the problem the issue we're taking more with the statement is that he said that women don't seem to like hobby gaming, which, like, for the time period at least, that was correct. Now, you can obviously argue, as Ginger pointed out, whether or not it was a biological thing or a cultural thing. I would fall more on like the social cultural, like socialization thing. But I don't, I guess like Gary Gygax is dead, right? He doesn't work at Wizards of the Coast.
Sure, and I also want to pull this back and ask Ginger, or I'm sorry, Harmony. Harmony, you
Sorry,
mentioned
Harmony.
that no, it's fine.
Either.
You mentioned that WOTC has been disrespectful to the
Yeah.
legacy of D&D. Can you give us some examples of what you mean by that? And maybe then we can tackle those, please.
Yeah, sure. So I believe they've been sanitizing a lot of their old stuff because in the older editions of D&D, you had several settings. Like, I mean, you had Greyhawk, Dark Sun, Forgotten Realms. You had all sorts of different settings that came in, and you know they won't touch Dark Sun, and that's fine. They probably shouldn't. But anyway,
They
Dark Sun,
did a
actually.
re-release of Dark Sun a few years ago.
did they
Fourth
really?
edition.
Yeah, not for
edition
fifth,
was
not
the
for
last
fifth
Dark
edition.
Sun.
So, yeah, it was in fourth edition.
It was in
But,
fifth edition. There was a
Dark
fifth
Sun-
edition Dark Sun.
was there a
source
fifth
book,
edition
yeah.
Dark Sun source book?
I'm
The
reasonably
Does
that.
anybody
certain.
play Magic?
Same.
Oh.
That's what I've been waiting on, man.
Sorry. This is
Is there
probably
a
what
fifth
I
edition
sound
Dark
like talking
Sun?
about 40K when I'm around like my fiance.
Really?
This is what I sound like to her.
Okay, but no, I'm just
Right. Sorry.
Let's
I,
get back
got
into
sidetracked.
the let's get back into
Um,
the disrespectful examples. please.
Right. I think that I think that the first of all, this isn't WOTC, but the wide perception that Gary Gygax was a sexist for that forum post, I think, is not great on his legacy. But also, I think that what Ironcaster said, those broad disclaimers that we don't stand by what this game originally was, yeah, that's not great. And also, you have things like Thaco the Clown. Do you guys know Thaco the Clown? Thaco the Clown, an NPC in what was it? Wild Beyond the Witchlight. Right? Lots of people had the idea that that was
Okay.
meant to clown on old gamers. And
I don't know,
also
I've-
Kyle Brink's statement.
People
Let's
have
talk
been
about-
joking about Thaco since third edition came out
Yeah.
because it was a counterintuitive system to wrap your head around.
I mean,
Yes, but
I-
they
making a
specifically
making a
character
joke
someone
about
who
the
hated
past of the
children.
hobby is fine.
it is a pattern of behavior, I think. And then when it comes to I'm sure we all remember Kyle Brink's statement about older white guys like me can't leave this hobby fast enough. I mean, I think that there is a pattern of disrespecting older gamers that have been in this hobby for a very long time.
It is not even a disrespect that comes from behavior necessarily. It is usually a disrespect that comes from immutable characteristics, ideas, color of the skin, or even gender, when people complain about the fact that in wargaming there isn't enough women and that is the fault of men. No, simply people like what they like, and we should leave all these kind of differences at the door. But the problem is when even the creators, in this case like WOTC, try to appeal to a wider or better audience, as they call it, by doing this kind of statements and starting to denaturate or even go against the creators of the game they now own and brings them millions.
So what
it is
statements?
not
What
that
statements has Wizards of the Coast made that you take umbrage with?
I don't think there is a specific statement that I take a problem with, but I take a problem with the amount of changes they have done and the amount of outcry they have listened to that really didn't have any sense to be
Can you give
listened to. Like the fact that
specifics,
they
please?
Any specific changes that you would like to list?
Yes, the fact that they removed the orcs from being a natural evil race because people started complaining about them being a caricature of black people, that they never were. People started seeing that because people started making a connection with that to complain about the connection that there was. Nobody ever saw that black people as orcs until somebody started complaining that they saw black people as orcs.
There's
it's more of a
academic
statement on the person
literature
who
on
read
the
it.
otherization of evil races going back about half a century.
What do you mean?
Okay.
I mean that this isn't a new thing that people have been noticing and pointing out.
But hobby
And
gamers
that
might not
kind
be
of
familiar with that literature.
Evil races.
Hold on, let Radham go for a little bit. He's getting ganged up on that. Let's let him go. Yeah.
Evil races are like they're used as a stand-in for the vile other, and there's like kind of problematic elements that come with that. Like outside of extraplanar, supernaturally good and evil stuff, I think that having nuance is fine actually.
Yes,
Yeah,
but
that's
you can have
adding
nuance,
great
but
depth.
the only person seeing a comparison like black people are orcs were the people complaining that they saw black people as orcs. No wargamer ever went, oh yeah, I'm going to make a tribe of orcs just inspired from Brooklyn. What the fuck kind of comparison is that? It is like the people that on Twitter, when the 10th edition Warhammer 40k trailer released, went on Twitter to complain, oh yes, the Tyranids are the Jews. And I'm like, what the fuck are you watching when you look at this trailer? Like, can we just agree that fantasy is fantasy? You can see whatever you want in it, but you don't have to complain if you see something that is offensive
They
for
were
you.
talking about, like, there's lots... I'm going to try and pull this back to D&D rather than getting back into Warhammer stuff, because that's
No, I
not
just
the
did a
topic.
comparison, but it is just to say.
Yeah, and after Radham, I want to hear from Hunt, because Hunt's been kind of quiet and he's been trying to get in. So Radham finish, and then we want to go to Hunt, and that's the order we're going to go in. And thank you for the super chat. I'll be reading them soon. We'll get to them, promise. Give me more money. Go ahead.
There are absolutely plenty of right-wingers who meme on the connection between various, like, evil races or bad factions and various different groups and racial minorities. That's all I'm going to say. Let's go over to Hunt.
Go ahead, Hunt. You've had some things to say, trying to get in. Give us what you got.
So talking about disrespecting and like kind of like the just not doing well for the hobby and all that kind of stuff. Sorry, talking about the woke and all that kind of stuff. I think the biggest example for being not, like so pandering and stuff, all that kind of woke stuff for it would be Thunder Junction, the latest Magic set, is a perfect example of them not caring about any of that. There is that whole set involves basically cowboys coming out to native land and stuff, and then finding gold and riches and taking advantage of the natives there.
Oh, geez.
There's even some cards that even reference some of the art from deals that were made and stuff, which always screwed over the natives. Even part of the story is that this plane was just non-existent. They couldn't really do anything themselves until all the settlers showed up, and then that's when they can make the plane full.
I mean, from how you described it, it seems to me that it is still woke, but they are aiming it at somebody that you can critique, because it is pretty much mirroring. Yes, yes.
Are you serious?
Excuse me.
Come on, man.
Yes, I'm serious. Excuse me.
You can critique colonization. Colonizer is a slur used for white people on Twitter these days. What are you talking about? Colonization is like one of the I'm sorry, Whick, but that's one of the major central talking points with Israel-Palestine is the colonizer narrative. So
can we go one fucking day?
I had to.
One fucking day.
It is not a matter of the colonizer meme. It is a matter that it is pretty much a comparison directly with American history. Or the natives that are getting invaded by somebody else that finds riches and starts taking advantage. My fucking Christ, do I have to tell you American history?
Yeah, but American history isn't woke, dude. It's explicitly not woke. Part of the whole woke thing is trying to apologize for all this shit in American American history.
Okay, then tell me this. How is it not woke if they represent the white man, or in this case, the colonizer, as evil, but it is woke when they switch in the Lord of the Rings set Aragorn from being white to black? What do you mean? They are simply going for the easier
about
target.
The one set, dude.
You're comparing one specific.
I gotta say, Black
card to
Aragorn in that
full
art
set?
goes hard. He looks sick.
For how good of an art it is still disrespectful against the original creator. They are simply going for the easier target they know they will not be critiqued for, because everybody goes for the white man these days, especially for colonization, especially for the ancient Americans.
Wait, Hunt, hold on, Hunt. From my understanding,
Hold on, one at a time.
From my understanding, the story was like the colonizers, quote unquote, those would be like the planeswalkers, right?
Yeah,
those are the main
showed
characters
up
and heroes of Magic the Gathering Law. Those are not they're not enemies. They're not villains. They're probably portrayed in a positive light, I would assume.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't get to fully explain that before.
Sorry.
Then it explains it, but for what
card in like 5 sets ago,
but for what you said, because I don't know this set, but from what you said, it seemed to me that it was another thing. You needed to explain it a bit more. I would have understood.
Yeah, well, I tried. Yeah. So the good guys in this set that are the colonizers show up. And they're like, hey, this plane, these natives don't know how to do anything with this shit. We're cool. We know how to do it. And then they took advantage of the plane. They ransacked it. They didn't care about the natives at all. There were even cards out of cheeky little references to not liking them and putting them away. So, no.
I'm kind of surprised I haven't seen more stuff about that at this point, honestly, now that you mention it.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised that I have really not heard much of anything about this.
This does bring up a topic I wanna maybe broaden this a little bit, right? Is this, as well as other things, evidence that the complaints that there is disrespect towards the hobby, complaints that this is going too woke, are simply overblown and being used as a culture war wedge in order to distance people? Is that what the argument from you would be, Hunt?
Yeah. Yeah, people are just picking stuff to go off that cultural discourse.
Why is that wrong? And I want to get Ironcaster a little bit more in this. So I want to go to Ironcaster. Why is what he just said wrong?
Well, the big issue is we've seen everything politicized and turn into a wedge issue to where, I mean, we've infamously heard phrases like everything is racist, everything is sexist, everything is homophobic, and you have to point it all out. And
everything is woke.
Yeah. Well, I was specifically quoting.
It's not a one-way street.
Yeah. No, you're not wrong there. It's so easy for both sides to play those cards, and it's just it's always so frustrating because
it's pretty.
It takes away that ability to get away from the fight.
It's pretty easy to grift. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Everywhere you're turning, the fight is there, so everyone is just riled up.
I think it's pretty easy to grift on the anti-woke stuff. Does everybody know? I'm sure most people know the quartering, right? Jeremy from the quartering? Anybody old enough to remember when that was a Magic the Gathering channel?
Yep.
Like, he made a hard switch over to, like, the anti-woke, like, politics stuff. Like, I feel like a lot of the supposed, like, woke complaints with regards to WOTC are those types looking for specific things to target and amplify that otherwise might not have been targeted or amplified. And I think that Thunder Junction is kind of an example of how the opposite doesn't really seem to be happening. Or at least, I mean, you could make an argument that, like, people are just oblivious to it. I certainly was until I had it, like, Hunt explained it that way. But I mean, it does seem like for both sides certainly do it, but at least in this case, it certainly seems like one side is more, vitriolic with it.
Well, okay. I'll let you respond in a second. Let me get to these super chats. 10 euros from Prussian Menace to say this. Problems arise when corporations try to expand audiences into ones that aren't usually in the existing IP, not wokeness. Like every video become a live service to get GTA Online or Fortnite money. And I'm assuming he means video game here. What do we think of that, right? Away from the wokeness side of this, but simply to what I would consider maybe the flattening of D&D. And I think Harmony touched on this, right? Or maybe it was Ironcaster about the removal of more crunchy rules to the kind of like, this game's for everyone. Everyone can join it, right? Everyone can come in and they take away a lot of what makes the hobby unique in a way. They take a lot of what makes the hobby interesting to those who really got into it. What would be the response to that? And Red Hom, you look like you have something to say. So go ahead.
The like D&D is 5th edition is somewhat rules simplified compared to previous editions, and that has been part of its explosive popularity is because of its accessibility. Honestly, I think that D&D in general is a somewhat mid role-playing game. There are a lot of better role-playing games out there, but I want D&D to do well because most people's RPG trajectory takes them from D&D through to other better role-playing games.
A lot of this stems down to just an ever widening attempt from large major corporations to try to push for an ever wider audience. And I think one of the best examples of this is Star Wars. They've under Disney, they tried for 10 years to expand the audience because it has a built-in largely male audience. Are there women who like Star Wars? Absolutely. The thing is Disney had bought Star Wars, Lucasfilm, because of that built-in male audience. Because if you remove Marvel, if you remove Star Wars, at the end of the day, Disney's a girls' brand. Disney princesses are one of their best-selling things around. They bought those because they didn't have they didn't have anything at that scale that could attract male audiences. Well, the first thing they did was turn around and how can we make this appeal to women to try to widen the appeal to this. And after now 10 years of trying to do that, just this last week, Kathleen Kennedy has had to come out and basically admit, like, at the end of the day, we still have a largely male audience, which is kind of part of that, which gets us kind of back to that issue of a lot of this is just an attempt to basically control who the audience is, trying to get everyone in. And ultimately, the problem is boiling down to
Is that bad that more women are getting? They want more women in the hobby. Why is that? Why does it hurt D&D specifically? And I see your super chat for $100, J-Mac. Thank you. I'll get to it in a second. But yeah, can you explain why wanting more women in the hobby is bad for Dungeons and Dragons or Magic the Gathering or both?
So
Not.
a lot of what's going on is it's largely an attempt, like I said, an attempt to widen the audience. And so this natural idea comes in, let's make some changes to simplify the rules to try to appeal to these other player base, to these people who might not have been into it before. If we simplify it, well, maybe we'll get more people to come in. But the problem is these changes that are being made along the way are upsetting the already existing audience to try to chase a new audience. It's a lot of it comes down to is what feels like a sort of a disrespect to the classic fans that are already there.
Nerds get upset constantly by both change and lack of change. In every edition of every game, you will find people who are complaining about the current edition and want it to change to something new, and you will find people who complain every time an edition or a rule or anything changes. Like,
yeah, we acknowledge people complain. It's about whether or not the complaints are valid or good.
Every hobby is complaining.
Yeah, it is a matter of the complaint being justified or not. Like the creators of Helldivers, not the publisher, because Sony is trying to pretty much sync every single game it has under its belt. But the creators of Helldivers said it best, that a game for everyone is a game for no one. And the denaturation of the rules of D&D, of the universe of D&D, the stories they publish, the messages they give, even the extreme behavior of the creators that are now, even recently after Christmas, even had a massive amount of layoffs. I think they sent away 1,300 people from their shops after Christmas. I'm not sure about that. I read a tweet about it, but I didn't see any articles. But in general, every single change that denaturates the universe and makes it simpler to appeal or to a broader audience simply alienates more and more of the original audience without attracting anybody new in. Because D&D in general...
Why is D&D still the biggest RPG on the planet?
Because it was the first RPG on the planet.
Share.
No, they're trying to sell it, actually. They're trying to sell it. They're trying to sell it. WOTC is trying to sell D&D.
Got any proof? Where's the info on that? Because if there's
there is various articles. Look on Google. But in general, D&D has been experiencing a lot of popularity because it has been simpler. But the problem is player retaining. If people don't stick with your brand, but are there just for one release or one single edition of your game, you still lost customers, because the older fans that have played from the first edition and left at the fifth were there from the beginning.
Yeah, but if they
That
were
is the
replaced
point.
with the equal or a greater number, then it doesn't matter to the company.
Let me get
Yeah,
to,
but then why are they doing massive layoffs from their shops if there is an equal or greater number of players joining the hobby?
let me get to these super chats, and I'm curious.
This is standard corporate fuckery.
Yeah, I'll get to that in a second. But let me read these super chats. I got a couple, and I'm curious. I want to get Harmony in on here. I have a couple questions for her specifically. So $100 from JMac to say, can anyone point me to someone on the opposing side that got treated like Rebecca Guai? Guai, I don't know how to pronounce it. She wasn't a right winger as far as I know, but got dragged because of likes and follows. Does anyone from the left get the same treatment who got canceled over crazy lefty likes? Well, I can name one for you, J-Mac. Brianna Wu. Okay. That's going on right now as we speak. But does anyone else have a...
Lefty purity testing is way stricter than anything going on the right.
Yeah.
Like, no.
It is why the left eats itself most often.
Yeah.
The left is always known for the purity spiral of any, arguably. I'm not saying the right doesn't, but that's what they're known for best.
Okay. $20 from Doobie to say Thunder Junction was written as an uninhabited plane with no governing forces or gods before the Planeswalkers appeared and colonized it. Every sapient race there came in after it was colonized. Is that true? Did you lie in 4K to us, Hunt?
From what I understand, again, they haven't been the greatest on giving, super in-depth stories with the main blocks, but from what I understand, there were natives there. There were people at least before the Planeswalkers showed up. And there were people there that weren't the Planeswalkers.
Well, and I think even still the point of having a group of super people show up to show the people who are there, the natives, how it's done. I think that the fact that hasn't been attacked by the wokies is kind of astounding to me, regardless of whether or not the plane had people on it, in the very beginning.
Strange, yeah.
And it's sort of an unfortunate thing with Native Americans that they only really seem to matter in terms of politics with Columbus Day or around Thanksgiving. And I say this as someone who is a card-carrying Indian, so I'm speaking up for myself.
Okay.
I want to harken back to, this will be very quick, harken back to a previous point from Pontius Glor. So Hasbro selling off D&D was a rumor that was started by a Chinese news report saying that they were going to sell D&D to Tencent. This has been denied by Hasbro. So this doesn't actually seem to be a thing that is happening or was ever actually on the cards. There was a single news report that started this rumor.
Good. But the one of the 1,300 layoffs after Christmas, though, I doubt that is only corporate fuckery.
That is standard corporate fuckery.
I mean, they reported record profits. I'm not sure.
Yeah, record profits, massive layoffs.
Wizards of the Coast is getting in record profits,
I guess.
And it's Hasbro's most profitable division at the moment is Wizards of the Coast.
Not actually. 30% of the layoffs were the ones of Magic.
Layoffs don't matter.
Magic was the most profitable area of Wizards last year by a large margin.
But the layoffs were of that part. 30% of the people that they lay off was of the Magic.
Yes, I think this is where we'd be critical of corporate fuckery.
Yeah.
All right. $20 more from Doobie to yell at you in all caps. There were no people before the Planeswalkers. I'm going to try to do the yelling. Tell him to Google it. It's not that hard. If he had any intellectual curiosity whatsoever, he'd know this. There, I did my best Doobie impression. Go ahead.
Listen, I'm more of a 40K aficionado. I don't care about the lore of Magic.
But I wanted to let Harmony in. She was trying to get in earlier, and I want to make sure she has some space. And I have a couple questions, actually, for Harmony.
Yeah. You said you had some questions for me. So
yes.
I was going to address a point way earlier, but I think we've long passed it. I can go back to it, but...
Bring it up, and if it's boring,
All right. I object to the notion that simplifying rules is to bring in more women into the game. I personally try to bring in more women into the game, and I do so through my personal groups. I try to bring in women, and I don't do so by simplifying the rules. I do so by showing them how to play and showing them that they can focus on the weird things they want to, and they don't need to care about the things that they probably don't. Like we don't simplify anything for women. And I think that the notion that simplifying the game is to appeal to women is ridiculous.
I think if we could steelman that
I
then
agree.
a little bit, simplifying rules brings in more people generally, women included. Like, I did not play 40K until the start of this year because I was intimidated by the rules. So, like, and 10th edition is very similar to D&D 5th, where a lot of things were, like, sort of simplified down, making it more palatable to, like, new people. I don't think there's anything wrong with, like, trying to broaden your player, like, your total player base by making the rules more approachable and less crunchy. Because at the same time, older editions still exist. A friend of mine, we play our Crusades in 9th edition because it's crunchier. But 10th edition is like the one that I'm actually interested in exploring as like a more competitive game because the rules are a little bit more streamlined. They're like better attended. There's less variables for them to like balance against each other. And I think that the same is probably true for both Magic and D&D. Although Magic seems to be getting more... Sorry?
Hold on. Let me ask you just directly, though, because this point's brought up. And I saw... I watched Harmony's interview with Timothy Imholt. I'm not sure if I'm saying his name right.
Yeah, I think he's in chat.
Yeah,
you are.
And he brought up a similar point, which I'm just very curious on, right? Like, why when we talk about has WOTC, has Hasbro even been good for the hobby, one of the things that constantly gets mentioned is they broadened its appeal. Much more people are joining. Does that necessarily equate to a better game? And
more people to play with. Yeah.
Absolutely not.
No.
I think we can all agree with that.
Well, we're obviously not.
I will say in the
are
case
playing
of
right now.
role-play games, absolutely yes, because when there are more people doing role-play games, it's easier to find a group to play with.
Yeah, but if there's I mean, I was going to say for Magic, absolutely yes, because Magic is a lot more of like an easy, like if you two people have a modern deck, you can both sit down across from each other, not know anything, any personal details about anybody. Like I didn't introduce myself to anybody at like at matches or anything. We sit down, we play Magic, maybe we chat a little bit before and after, but like it's way less of a social experience than D&D. So like to me, having just more people to draw an RPG group for like D&D from doesn't necessarily fix the problem, because to me D&D is more of something that you should have a social rapport with the people you're playing with, whereas Magic, more bodies is what we need, especially considering like where tournament Magic is right now. We just need more people in it and interested in it.
Okay, so in Rat Hobbs' case, he says it's good for RPGs like D&D, and in JC's case, he says it's more good for Magic and things like that. But Harmony and Pontius, at least, and I'm not sure what Iron Coster and Hunt here think, but you guys disagreed. Can you explain why?
Yeah, so I think that a broad fan base is good. I think it's good for a lot of people to play the game, but that doesn't necessarily equate to a better game. And I think the broad fan base, a lot of it, the big explosion in D&D. When did the last big explosion in D&D happen? I can tell you when it happened. It happened at early 2020. Was that because of Wizards? Or was
because
that
of COVID.
something else that happened in early 2020? And that's kind of what I wanted to point out here is a lot of the big explosion of people playing the game have to do with the advent of VTTs, the internet, and the ease of finding a group, and it has to do with, well, COVID. And I don't think that Wizards of the Coast is responsible for COVID, is my point. I'm sorry.
There's one more
There goes
factor
my
I'd like
theory.
to add to the increase of the popularity of D&D and roleplay games in general, and that's the popularity of big actual play podcasts.
That's
been a big factor in introducing a lot of people.
But has that hold on, I want to take issue with that before I let you go in, Pontius, right?
Yeah, no
I
problem.
think that's made the hobby worse. I think that actual plays, such as Critical Role, things like that, have made the hobby worse. I can't tell you how many people
I could tell you
have
how.
weird expectations
Yeah, that's how.
of my game because they watched Critical Role and they think I'm supposed to be fucking voice actors or an entertainer or a clown for them when that's not my job.
It's like watching porn and then having sex for the first time.
No, calm down. Let me take this one, okay, please. Like it's this idea that people have this expectation of the one true way to play, and I think that the Mercer effect, right, has been deleterious for the hobby. It's made the game worse.
I think the Mercer effect's been overstated, but go ahead.
I think that I think there's an initial expectation that some people have, but once they're into the hobby, those expectations reshape. I can see it being a frustrating thing, absolutely, but I wouldn't personally say it's made the hobby worse.
I actually agree with Radham. I didn't think I'd say this. I think you're absolutely right on this. I think the explosion of players brought in by Critical Role, I think they do come in with wrong expectations sometimes, but generally that's not been a big issue in my experience. What is a big issue, I think, is the people who don't play games but still claim membership of the hobby. Like the people that don't play games at all, the people that are watch Critical Role and they'll buy D&D T-shirts and Funko Pops.
What's wrong with that?
Nothing. But I think that it is there's nothing wrong with that on an individual level. But I think there is something wrong with that when Wizards of the Coast starts catering to people who don't play games.
Well, if they're exclusively catering to it, sure.
That is to the detriment of people who do play games because they're putting resources into turning out all sorts of products that aren't games because there are a large portion of people that were brought into the hobby from Critical Role who don't play the game.
But how is someone who brought in by Critical Role buying a T-shirt? How is someone who was brought in by Critical Role buying a T-shirt with a D&D logo on it? How is that doing harm to the hobby?
So that's actually a good question because I think that on an individual level, not really, but on a major level, this is what corporations make decisions for. Like corporations will make decisions to cater to people that don't play the game, and I think that is to the detriment of the hobby.
Is printing shirts with the logo catering to people who don't play the game?
So you're nitpicking on little things. And
well, yeah, because it's a pretty specific criticism that you're raising, but it doesn't seem to be founded on that.
I think
to bring it. So to bring it to something that might get a better answer or information, what products or actions do you feel Wizards of the Coast or think Wizards of the Coast has made that does what you've outlined?
Okay, so you don't see a larger pattern of them making D&D into a lifestyle brand that is harming the hobby. Like that's something you don't see. Like, I'm just being clear, Radham, because you're asking me for
what do you mean
D&D makeup?
So what do you mean by making it into a
D&D
lifestyle
makeup? There's
brand?
one. So I believe that's something. Is that a quote from Cynthia Williams? I believe that they want to make D&D a lifestyle brand because I believe it is. I think that's something Cynthia Williams said is that they are looking to make it more of a lifestyle brand. I'm talking the culmination of things like T-shirts, Funko Pops, makeup,
the D20 waffle iron.
Yeah, the waffle iron, like things that have nothing to do with the game itself, but are really profiting on D&D as a brand instead of D&D as a game. That's what I'm talking about.
So the kinds of things that you've outlined aren't things that are generally actually being made by Wizards of the Coast. Those would be brand deals that they have with other companies. So I don't see how that's removing from the quality of the product that's being put out by Wizards themselves.
Well, isn't it more about like player sentiment?
Well, I want to hear Harmony respond to this, please.
Okay, you don't think that a large push to make this into a lifestyle brand rather than a game isn't to the detriment of the game?
Well, they're still like putting out. They haven't stopped putting out game materials.
Oh,
they
but
haven't stopped
it's worse.
Producing it as a game.
The quality. Have you? What's the last D&D book you've read? I'm curious. Because yes, they are still putting out books.
I read through some of the Spelljammer books and was very disappointed at the lack of rules for piloting Spelljammers.
Because the quality of their actual game material has gotten worse as the push for D&D as a lifestyle brand has gotten better. Do I think they are necessarily causational? I can't prove that, but it certainly doesn't look good. But yeah, the quality has gotten worse. You
Yeah.
pointed out the lack of rules in Spelljammer. I mean, it's everything in the past. Like, I want to say the last good book they released was like, oh
Tasha?
gosh, I don't think Tasha's was good. Tasha's was
It
not
seems by and
great.
large from the kind of the accounts that
Uh-huh.
I track from what little bit I've looked into them, it's like Tasha was basically the turning point.
I think Tasha's is probably a good turning point because the first couple iterations of 5e were good. Xanathar's was good. Tomb of Annihilation was a good module. Curse of Strahd was a good module. I mean, they have like a lot of very high quality stuff at the beginning of it, but then like the quality starting with Tasha's like is dipping at the same time that this stuff is going on. That's what I'm talking about. Yes, they're still releasing 5e books, but I'm not talking about quality of or quantity of material here. I don't care about quantity of material. I want high quality material.
So for my own edification, would you say, like, how many books have they released, like, this year? Or since the start? How about since the start of 5e? That's probably an easier one, right?
I have no idea.
What?
I could not tell you how many books they've released since the start of 5e.
A
That's not
metric
information
fuck
I have.
ton.
Can you give me
Yeah.
like a rough percentage of like how many you consider
think,
to be like low quality or like proof that they're lacking?
Low quality?
Yeah.
Pretty much everything after Tasha's has been fairly low quality in my opinion. I think Wild Beyond the Witchlight was bad. I think I think Tasha's was bad, but some people don't agree with that, so I'm not gonna hold that. The Spelljammer books were not good. The I
Radiant
have
Citadel.
on good. Oh, Radiant Citadel was a train wreck. I basically I don't think that that's a fringe opinion. I think that's a fairly common opinion.
No, I'm not going to
think
contest
a
that.
lot
I'm
of
not a D&D
people-
player. I was just asking. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
No,
accuse
it's
you of-
look, you guys are so polite.
It's
What's
the
going on?
Midwestern in us. We
I
can't
get it, I
help
get it, I
it.
get it.
Yeah.
I want to.
Look,
I want to let you finish. I'll let you finish. And then
I was
wanna
just
pass-
gonna
pass
say,
the
I'm not
podcast.
gonna yell
Sorry,
at
mate.
people in your pants.
The audio from you guys is completely fucked out for me. I'm just gonna mute you for a moment while I try and figure out what's going on.
I'm sorry about the audio issues. I don't know what's going on there, but I wanted to pass it for a moment to Pontius and maybe kind of get a little bit back on track here.
I think the main problem with WOTC, D&D, and Magic the Gathering, less in Magic the Gathering, because I do agree with GC that it is a very impersonal kind of hobby where you have just to play with an opponent. You just need a deck, an opponent you can play. You don't really need to familiarize with a person. You don't need to be friends. You don't need to role play. You just need to play. So more bodies are better, even if the quality of the cards, the rules, and everything is going down. The main problem, though, comes in games, in this case, like D&D. One of the things I actually appreciate the most when people join an hobby is the amount of required effort to join that hobby, either learning the rules, learning the story, learning how it works, learning how to behave even, because you have to be respectful with the people that know more than you, that do more than you, that have more experience than you when you're starting and such. The problem is the more you simplify the rules of something, the more you simplify something, the lower the quality becomes, and even if a broader audience comes in, the quality of the audience that comes in is not even comparable to the one that was there before, because it required actual effort to be part of an hobby. This is a thing I've seen even in 40K.
Complexity does not equal quality.
Complexity does not equal quality, but simplicity equals stupid people coming in without knowing anything and giving problems.
No,
That is the problem.
the opposite of complexity can be simplicity. Simplicity can be elegant. I would prefer to have simple, elegant rules than complex. Like, this is why I prefer like D&D over Rollmaster, say. Now, I prefer other games over D&D, but I'm pushing back that simplicity equals bad, complexity equals good.
Yeah, but it depends the level of simplicity, because if you go from a well-defined system with a well-defined story and races and how everything works to something so simple somebody can learn it in 5 minutes, it can either be the best simplification you have done in your life, or you have turned something good into dog shit. There is no in between in this case. What I'm trying to say is the more you simplify something, unless you do it in a very smart way that doesn't leave out much of what you're trying to simplify, you are going to attract people that are just following a trend and are not real players.
Yeah, I want to before we respond to that, I want to ask you to be a lot more specific because you're talking about this in general, right? So can you give us a specific example of Dungeons and Dragons, right, where they have made a simplification that you find has turned the system, or at least that part of the system, into, as you say, dog shit. Can you give us an example?
The most recent retcon and change they have made, where they have pretty much eliminated half breeds from the game. In the most recent
No, they
change,
haven't. They've just changed the terminology around them.
Yeah, I know there's no flake version of this kind of things. The point is, from what I've seen, that they have made it a lot less convenient, at least from the rules, to actually make half-breed characters. Because
they've actually made it so that you can, like, for what they're looking at for their next version of the game, I believe they've made it so that you can make more different half-breeds now. So you can have, like, you know, an elf halfling instead of just a half elf that's a half human.
Well,
wasn't that possible even before?
No, there wasn't rules for that before.
Okay, you could make them up. That is the point of D&D.
Hold on, I want to get Ironcaster in here. Ironcaster, you're trying to get in? Go ahead.
Oh yes, I was just going to point out that just because more rules, more options does not always equal better. There's the idea of choice paralysis is an issue that can pop up, where just to go through the very basic of ice cream, you go to an ice cream shop, they have chocolate, vanilla, and swirl. You know basically right away what you're going to get. But if they have 32 flavors, they have if they have 50 flavors, you got to stop. You have to process. There's the choice paralysis.
What if you're someone coming into an ice cream shop looking for strawberry, but they don't have it, and you walk away disappointed and they lose a sale because they weren't able to meet the need that you provided? Weren't able to meet the demand.
Then I suppose they
lose business to the ice cream shop down the street who has 31 flavors.
So
okay, but then if I have to make a cone with 237 flavors and I have to taste every single one of them, you think I would try?
You don't have to. You wouldn't do that. When's the last time you had an ice cream cone with 237 scoops on it? No, you pick the ones that you like, you ignore the ones that you don't, and you eat the damn ice cream you like. You don't have to eat all of it.
Okay. I'm going to get off the ice cream.
I go into the shop, I get the darkest chocolate ice cream I can, I leave happy.
I hope I made everyone
hungry. This has been that. We're going to get off the ice cream metaphor. I wanted to ask directly, right? Pontius gave us an example of a rule, the rule on half-breeds, or the change in terminology. He thinks that makes the game more simple and in a bad way or a negative way. So to Ironcaster and Harmony, either one or both of you, can you give me an example, if you share this opinion, of a rule that has WOTC have simplified in a way that has been to a detriment of the game as a whole? Please.
Yes. So I think that D&D 5e, upon its release, I think it was actually a pretty good system. And one thing they had in 5e, and I think anybody who's played is familiar with this, is the subclasses that occur at different levels. Some classes, when you make them, like if you're a cleric, you have to declare your subclass immediately because it's based on your god. However, if you're like a ranger, you wait till level 3, right? And every class is treated a little bit differently, and that's okay. That's a good thing because it allows you to, it allows them to do different things with different class. However, in the new edition, the 1D&D or 6e 5.5, I forget what they're calling it now, but in the newer edition, every single class is given their subclass at level 3. Now, why would they do this? It's to simplify things. Now, what does it take away? What interesting thing does this take away? Well, I can tell you. Okay, first of all, if I make a level 1 cleric, I want to know what my god is. I'm not like a generic cleric. It makes a difference if I'm getting my power from a death deity or from a light deity. It makes a difference in how my character works, right? It should, because that's where I get my power. Same with a warlock. Your power should be different based on where you get it. However, they want to make everything uniform and simple to the detriment of role-playing.
Any responses to this?
No, I completely agree.
I mean, I agree with that. I like more options.
Sure. Does anyone disagree?
I don't have any strong feelings on it.
I guess are there people because I'll devil's advocate it for the people who are interested in that.
No, I don't want devil's advocacy. I want genuine opinions tonight. We could do devil's
my genuine opinion is how does that disrespect the game?
I didn't say it disrespected the game. I was talking about a specific example where something that was a little bit more complex got simplified over time and to the detriment of the game. That's what I was asked to
to the
give. I didn't say
detriment.
that.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't say that disrespected the game. I said it was to the detriment of the game.
Do you have another example, Ironcaster? I want to give you a chance to have this.
Unfortunately, I don't really have. The thing is, I play so many other games that it's.
Do you have a Magic the Gathering related example?
Please.
Because you're more of an MTG player, yeah?
Well, actually, I can't. One of the things that has popped up that has kind of been an issue is in a lot of cases with it is the quality issues. I mean, you remember how many Magic? Remember all the Magic that curled like Pringles?
Yeah. So
It's
that doesn't seem to be a
Sorry,
problem anymore with some of the more recent foils that I've gotten, because there used to be an issue with the way that they produce foil cards, which is that there would be like a shiny layer applied to the card once finished that depending on the humidity and temperature level of like where you lived, it could curl upwards or outwards. I think the most hilarious example is probably Commander Legends, the set called Commander Legends, where cards would come out of the pack warped. Like, Magic has a rule with regards to like whether or not cards are legal for tournament play, and it has to be that they're not marked or distinct in any way from any other card in your deck. And the majority of that set in foil is unplayable, and even some of the non-foils. However, there has been massive player backlash to that, vocal player backlash, and a lot of the foils that I have a Rest in Peace from Thunder Junction that I just got for one of my control decks, and it's flat, and it stayed flat. I left it out on my counter for a day with no sleeve on it just to test it. It stays flat, so whatever they did, they fixed it.
So I think this brings up an interesting point that I think can apply to both D&D and Magic the Gathering, both. Recently, I have seen evidence that Wizards of the Coast has removed one of the qualifications or one of the statements they've had in their like promise to the players. I'm not sure exactly what the technical term for whatever this is. They used to have this in this a statement saying that they would never use AI art. They have since removed that. Do we think this has been
they have
good? Oh,
No.
I hadn't heard about them.
If I'm wrong, correct me, please. I'm not perfect.
I hadn't heard about them removing that statement. They may or may not have, but they have also recently started advertising for an AI specialist to start working at Wizards.
Yeah, specifically
So-
with generative content.
So a couple of things there. To the AI thing, they had just come out and recently said that they would not come out and make public statements basically for every time a piece of AI art is found. So they're basically planning to sweep it under the rug and basically not make any big statements about it. And as for the AI, I think it's more a matter of it seems to be that they're probably looking to look for someone to handle the VTT for AI is what I'm guessing. At this point, we kind of have to speculate because they've said, "Oh no, guys, it's totally for games." But well, we all know better than to trust corporations.
They did say in the description generative content, which I don't know how much that helps narrow it down. But yeah, we can only really speculate at this point on that.
Well, let's run with this for a moment because I'm curious, and maybe no one here has this opinion, but I'm just curious. Does anyone think that using AI in art generation or product generation, either of Magic or in D&D, do we think this is positive or at least neutral?
I think it's neutral.
Neutral?
Yeah.
I say it as more as a 3D artist than a normal artist because I 3D model for CGI, but there is different kind of uses you can have for AI. If you use it to give a base to work with, when you want just simply to save time and create a base you can then work on to better and make your own, make your style and make it to a finished product, then I approve of it. But simply going, oh yeah, let's give everything to create to AI is not something I will ever approve of. It is soulless art in every kind of sense.
Interesting.
One of the
Brad
big
Hahn, then
draws,
Gideon, yeah.
especially one of the big draws, especially of Magic the Gathering, is its phenomenal artwork, and I would hate to see that lost.
I think you're absolutely correct, both Pontius and Radham. I'm not even I'm not like someone that has very strong opinions on AI, except that I do think it looks soulless. I think there are acceptable and unacceptable uses for AI, and generally, if you're making money from something, it's probably falls under unacceptable. But that's a moral judgment. That is not a realistic judgment of where this is going. I think that Pandora's box has been opened, and artists are going to have to adapt or fail. And that's not a moral judgment on it.
That's basically what I was going to say.
I don't think it's a good thing.
The AI meteor is falling. It's time to adapt or die.
It's
I
neutral.
feel for artists. Like I said,
the AI hold on, let Harmony finish.
No, I'm done. I've said all.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. Go ahead, Radham, please.
So the corporations that are pushing these LLM image generators are currently losing a lot of money because it's very expensive to run. They seem to be following the Silicon Valley adage of move fast and break things to try and disrupt an existing existing industry, like what happened with Uber and cabs, like what happened with Airbnb and hotels and rentals. There's other examples as well. The thing is, art is something that people do. We have this drive in us to make things, to do things like that. And while they might be able to like knock out a bunch of artists from being able to do things for a while, like professionally, those artists aren't going to stop making art. They're not going to go away. So unlike with, say, Uber, I don't think that there's going to be a pivot point where they've managed to crush the industry so they can start jacking up the prices and try to actually make it profitable. Because as soon as they do that, those artists are just going to step back in and retake their old positions. That's me being like, me being like hypothetical, but I don't think it's going to go as well for the AI companies as they think it will.
Okay. Any other comments on that? Otherwise, I want to move on.
I just want to say that I don't think any of us can possibly say where it's going, because this is a brand new situation, unlike anything humanity's ever seen before. And look, I'm here to talk about games, and I don't actually know where this AI thing is going, and I don't think any of the rest of us do either.
But I do want to talk.
Okay.
The reason I'm bringing this up though is to talk about the product quality, right? And product quality. We have seen, or at least I have seen, some of the recent supposed like previews of the art of Dungeons and Dragons books that are coming out and things like that. And I wanted to talk about like the art direction quality and the product quality itself of Dungeons and Dragons books, modules, splat books, and also the Magic the Gathering. You have something to say, Radham? Go ahead.
Yep. Just before we move away from Wizards and AI, Wizards has put out a statement since the job posting got found. Quote, "Our stance on AI hasn't changed. This job description is for a role for future video game projects. You can reference our FAQ here." And I believe the FAQ still has the statement that like they won't use AI generated art from contractors.
Seems like a pretty good company.
Well, the thing is though, with the VTT, it's sort of a video game tabletop hybrid. They might say that applies to largely.
I can see your hypothesis that they might use generative stuff for the VTT. That is possible.
One thing, though, that I think was not talked about until now is not only the quality of the product itself or the quality of the company that makes it, but also the quality of the fan base that is coming out with the simplified rules, simplified ways of getting into the hobby. I have been an active role-playing player for the last 10 years, most probably. I'm 24, so from when I was 14 or around that. I played D&D for 3 or 4 years before moving to other stuff and then ending up on 40K games. But the thing I've noticed from the people that still play tabletop games that are friends of mine to this day, or even groups that I'm in that talk about D&D and such, is that the quality of the fan base itself, the quality of the players has decreased to such a point that and I quote some of the people I know, that D&D sessions are becoming more and more like therapy sessions for people with very many problems, more than tabletop role-playing games.
Was that an issue with the fan base as a whole, or just who you pick to play in your sessions?
I think
I
it's more
didn't
of
pick
a-
anyone because I see dozens of posts every week about the same things. I have had this player on my table. He was complaining about this. He was complaining about that. He was offended by this. He was offended by that. It is becoming pretty much impossible to play without having toxic
How many
players.
Why?
posts do you see about
Hold on,
positive
hold on. I'll let you go. I'll let
experiences?
you go into JC real quick. But now I'm very curious. Has the average role-playing D&D tabletop player become weak? Become soft?
Yeah,
Why or why not? Go
this
ahead,
would be your
JC.
question. I can't speak
No
to
one?
that.
No one has an
I can't
opinion on
speak
this?
to that. I
I
don't
thought
play
you said.
D&D.
Wait, did
So-
you direct that at someone?
Well, I wanted JC to answer. He seemed
Has
that
the
thought
average
it
player
ended in
become
people's
weak?
senses.
I think that
Pati's Glaw, hold on. Pati's Glaw has just made an assertion. He has said that he has heard through the grapevine, he has seen this, he's observed this, anecdotal as it were, but still worth considering, that overall, that D&D and tabletop games have become worse due to the quality of the player declining, where it's offense being taken far more, there's far more conflict, and there's far more and not game in-game conflict, but player-to-player conflict, and it's as he said in his words, become a therapy session. And I want to engage with this. I'm very curious if people agree with this or not. Do you agree with this or not, JC? What do you think?
no. So aside from the fact that the worst experiences will always be reported on and amplified, while the bevy of positive experiences will rarely be reported on and amplified, I can use a magic analog actually to explain my exact feelings about this. I don't play Commander anymore. I hate Commander because I tried to do Commander the wrong way. I would build a casual, not a competitive level, like high power deck. I would build a casual Commander deck. I would go to the open play casual Commander nights at my LGS, and I would get either stomped on or I would stomp everyone else. So to me, it seems like there's, at least Commander has always seemed like more of the social format for Magic the Gathering. The one where you form a play group of 3 to 4 friends that you all build decks, you kind of tailor them to each other's power level, because Commander is a format where basically every card from the history of Magic is legal, so you can do broken things, or you can have a deck that can't do anything. But I think that as long as you're having a conversation with the people that you regularly play with, and you should strive to regularly play both D&D and Commander with a regular play group, as long as you're able to have those open conversations and communications about what you're all expecting from the experience, I think that these issues are basically like a non-issue, and that people just need to learn how to communicate better with the people that they play with.
I
Yeah, but
completely
what
agree
you-
with JC there.
Yeah, but what you're saying applies to groups and people that play games for a long time together, people that probably know each other from a long time. In fact, I was referencing the fact that with all the changes and making it simpler and less harder to get into the hobby itself with rules, lore, or whatever you want, that people are joining that simply don't have a way of interacting with older players. Because I will say it personally, from the games I write for Rogue Trader or Dark Heresy, or even the most recent versions of Tabletop Wargame of 40k, if you get offended by something I say or I do in my campaign or something such, at least in 40k terms, you are out of the game. Because I don't care if you want to be offended by something that is made up.
I think you're fine to say that. I think that's a perfecly
Yes.
fine thing to say. If you're the DM, you say, hey, this is my adventure. These are the things that I've written. We're creating a story together, like we're having a social experience, but at the end of the day, I'm the one who wrote the campaign. I'm the one who put in the time to write this module down to get all of this sort of set up. And if we can't come to a consensus on how we're gonna all get enjoyment out of this, then maybe whatever individual has the biggest issue, maybe you should just find another group to play with. I don't think that's unreasonable. I think people tiptoe way too hard around people's feelings these days, especially with their friends. And I
Yes.
understand it, but we need to get back to a time where we clearly communicate hey, I don't like this.
Yeah, I want to expand the conversation, get some other people in here. Other thoughts on this? I know Red Hum said he pretty much agreed with JC, so I want to hear from Hunt. I want to hear from Ironcaster and Harmony. So go ahead, Hunt.
Yeah, exactly what JC said. I mainly play Magic in my group of 4 or 5 friends. We've been playing together for 12 years at this point. And Magic has a thing called, or at least in Commander, called Rule 0. where essentially you and your friends, before you start playing, decide on any extra rules. Whether that's, hey, this new rule that they put out that we don't disagree with, maybe a mulligan change or something like that, we're going to not ignore that. Or, hey, those cards are ridiculous, we're not playing with those. So realistically, that solves pretty much all that stuff that got brought up.
But the problem is nobody has those conversations.
Okay. I want to pass it to Ironcaster and Harmony. A lot's been said. Pick a point you want to tackle, and if not, I have some points I want to tackle. So go ahead.
So a lot of what we're seeing is a combination of sort of a generational shift in the way people interact, which is in part caused by technology, where you have people more and more online just constantly, which has shifted the way people talk, and so you have a whole group of people who've come up just in a totally different way of the normalization of communication, where even just something is like getting together in person, the idea of going out to like place my order for my food can be something to develop anxiety over, to get ready to try to do, and which is also tied with the larger like I said, the larger shifts of thanks to largely social media has caused to be much more open, sharing yourself, put out your every thought. So the therapy session idea kind of rolls in with that. So the table time, game time, has become a extension of that.
Any thoughts, Harmony?
Yeah, I think Ironcaster is absolutely right about this, that a lot of this has to do with increased communication. But I think that an overlooked responsibility of a game master for any game, or for anybody organizing a game night, is it is your responsibility to gatekeep at your table. And how do I gatekeep? Anybody can join my table. I don't care about your ethnicity, race, sexuality, religion, anything like that. I don't care about that. What I care about is, are you going to be a dick? And I will gatekeep the fuck out of you. I'm so sorry. I don't know what language.
No, that's the best way I've heard it put.
Swear as much as you fucking like.
Based.
And if you're going to come in and perpetually look for something to be offended about, if you're going to come in and bring your politics in with you, which I play with people who are on the right and I play with people who are on the left. And I play with a lot of people where I don't know what their opinions are. And I'm happy with that. I don't care. We're here to play a game. And if you can't respect that, then I will gatekeep you. But
your politics at the door.
Yeah, that's what I gatekeep from. And I think it is everybody's responsibility to gatekeep. I think it's a game master's responsibility or a host's responsibility to gatekeep, to curate a group of people who are going to get along with each other. And if you don't have a group of people that are getting along, I think you failed at that responsibility. And I think that the only way to fix it is to remove some people sometimes.
Removing that, I should really invite you to one of my games of Dark Heresy. You should learn some 40k lore, and I will invite you in.
Not gonna invite me.
Wait.
You don't know enough lore. Learn more. No, I'm talking with you, Arman. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
While I agree with the point you make, I think the part that goes overlooked is that the amount of negative experiences I see people reporting from games sessions and them turning into real therapy sessions about problems people have, what they are offended by, what they can stand. Oh no, you cannot use this because I have this phobia. Oh no, you can do that because I'm offended by it. It is also a thing that goes overlooked, that the amount of negative experiences that gets reported is over the amount of positive experiences that get reported, because the positive experiences of people playing D&D are expected to be the normality. You go to play the game to have fun. So if you have fun, you don't report on it. But with the explosion I've seen of people reporting having problems at the table, new players being dicks, as Harmony said, complaining about something, complaining about the story, being offended by things, has gone so much out of control that at this point, I believe that if you don't play with people you're friends with from years, or even by curating your own table, you will not have any players that are simply not offended by something. Like, I'm not saying something like extreme, like non-consensual sexual acts or murders or such. I'm talking about something simple like once I read about a dungeon dungeon not being wheelchair accessible, and people were complaining about it.
Oh,
And I'm like, what the fuck?
Someday I will be on a stream somewhere where someone doesn't bring up the wheelchair debate. I am someday.
It's the Israel-Palestine
That is
of
my
D&D
goal.
communities.
Yeah. Radham, go ahead.
I've got something to jump in with before we continue on. It's like if you're running a roleplay game, you need to set expectations going in, and for me, that's a conversation. If you want to set the expectations of like, no political or, shit's going to get offensive, that's an expectation that you can set. For me, with each roleplay game I run, I sit down, I have a conversation with my players. We discuss lines and veils. So lines are like hard line, I'm not interested in doing an RPG if we're going to cover like X, Y, Z. For example, I had a player a little while ago who had a line of like gratuitously violent things happening to children. I'm like, yeah, cool. We can just not have gratuitously violent things happening to children. That's fine.
They never join my D&D games.
And this wasn't my requirement. It was one of my friends who I was playing an RPG with, and
No, it was just a joke about the
I
fact
wanted
that
to play the game with them. Then and a veil is like, okay, we will have this kind of thing in the game, but we won't necessarily focus on it. One of my usual veils in roleplay games is sex. So players can go and hook up with a barmaid, but I'm not here to roleplay your sex scene. We'll just pan to curtains, fade to black. Yep, that character's off doing that.
Do you mind if I
and setting those expectations is important. About that? Sure.
Because in the case of, for example, of say the child, violence one, which don't get me wrong, it's not something I exactly want to do either with the games. Like I want to go play games and be an elf. Shockingly, you would think I'd be a dwarf. You would think I'd be a dwarf.
I did. Huh.
Gotrek.
Is that an example of racism?
No, it's beard typecasting.
No, let him finish. Please, I want to hear what he's going to say.
No, please continue. It's a joke.
So let's say, for the sake of out of curiosity, you want to put in a plot where there's the local farmer's child was kidnapped, and you're going to give them some sort of ticking time clock of, oh, we think the local cultists kidnapped the kid. You have to go rescue them, otherwise they're going to be sacrificed. Would that be too far, or would that be permissible? I'm not saying we're going to describe the violence.
There's a couple of possibilities. One, switch it to a different family member who's an adult. Two, change it from a sacrifice to, they will be transformed into a demonic creature kind of thing.
But it is an expectation. It is not something that will happen if you intervene. So why change it? The players need to go and save him, so they save him before he gets sacrificed. So why should somebody be offended by that?
Well, I think we're talking about the conversation,
because
right?
failure happens.
Like the pregame conversation.
There needs to be tension there. Yeah, this is pregame conversation. This is session 0. Before I've actually I might have jotted down a couple of campaign notes, but I haven't written sessions at this stage. This is setting expectations with your players before you start playing. And if your expectations that you want to set is shit's going to get offensive, then that's fine. And if your players are okay with that, then that's fine. It's just a conversation that you need to have to make sure everyone's on the same page.
Yeah, but I think the difference is what people get offended by, because what you are saying are pretty much very fair things to be offended by. Children getting hurt or sex scenes, that is all fair and good. I have seen people, at least I have seen messages of people that talked with groups that played with me at some point that pretty much talked about people being offended because the GM kept getting wrong the pronouns of his fucking character.
Okay, so don't play with that person then. That's the other purpose. I think we need to keep in mind that's the purpose of the pregame conversation is if you reach an impasse with someone where you go I need to do this in order for the story to work. I've cooperated with you on a lot of this stuff, but this part has to stick. And they're like, no, you have to change this or I'm not playing. Then you say, okay, you're not playing. That's the purpose of the conversation is to establish, okay, how far can we go before, without upsetting someone? and like what's permissible in this little group, and is somebody going to take so much umbrage with a specific element that we just can't have a productive, fun social experience? And if that's the case, then you have to kind of nut up and say, yeah, sorry, I just don't think this is going to be for you.
Yes, that is
I
fine.
also
but
have
yeah.
I also have a positive example of one of my players actually using one of my games as therapy. They have arachnophobia, and they chose to play a spider-themed character in order to try and help inoculate themselves against that fear. I thought that was really cool.
Okay,
It
I
is.
just have
And,
a
you know,
public
every now and
service
then I'd
announcement.
touch base with them, make sure that they were okay
Sure.
with the stuff that was
Not
happening.
medical
Let
advice.
me just interject. Do not use your
Well, it was
D&D
initiated
session.
by the player.
I understand, but I don't want my players. Please do not use my session. I'm not a therapist. I can't help you with your issues. I can't solve your problems. That's not what we're here for. Please don't use my games as therapy. That's all I wanted to say. Okay.
Please,
Yeah.
please.
having
I
this
will-
pre-game
I will-
That was part of the
live.
session 0 discussion.
No, wait a second. I will address it too. Please, his players, use these sessions as therapy. I want him irritated. But other than that, what I mean with my points is that I think the fan base of D&D is getting more and more polluted with people that simply are unreasonable to the point that you really have the only way of going with what they want or kicking them out. It was a very rare occurrence in the past, but now pretty much 1 in 3 new players is offended to the point by something that
So
they
you
cannot
have
even cross.
no way of knowing that stat. You have pulled that out of your
And can we
arse,
not
man.
call it
I did-
pollution? Can we just say there's more people playing D&D right now that I don't want to play with? Like, why the
No, it is
moral
pollution.
loading?
It is pollution. It is pollution.
Okay, why?
Because if you're so offended, if you're so offended by so many fucking things, you should really go to therapy and not play D&D.
And not play in our group. That's what I'm saying.
Yes, but
Or
it is
you
still
find a
pollution.
group
Nobody's
that you
forcing you to
can
play with
play
those
with.
people, Gla. Nobody's forcing.
No,
nobody's going to pin you to a
nobody's-
table and make you DM for people that you don't want to DM for.
Nobody's forcing
No,
me,
I'm
but there is
just
so
really
many people
curious.
that behave like this
There's
at this
circle
point
of
that
hell.
I'm forced at one
I'm
point.
just really curious. Who thinks that there is the current 5e like D&D player base has been polluted? Raise your hand. If you think it's
That's a
been
loaded
polluted.
term.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna
No,
say
I
it.
would
I'm
use
not
Come
gonna.
on, be brave.
I'm not
kings
gonna
and
go.
queens.
No, I'm not gonna go
No?
as far as polluted. No.
Alright, interesting.
No, I stick to my guns. It has
think
been polluted.
That's fair. I think we have a broadening of the player base, as we have said, because this whole discussion stemmed from a broadening of the player base. And I think that some of the players, some of the new people coming into the hobby are not gamers. I think some of the new people coming into the hobby are actors, are role players, are theater kids. They are not gamers, and they want a different type of game. And I think WOTC is catering to that group that was brought in by Critical Role, the group of theater kids. I'm not going to
Polluted
go
by
as
theater kids.
I'm
Gotcha.
not going to go as far as to say polluted because I think that's disrespectful of
Pollution.
no, of my humans. I
Based,
think that's
based.
I think it's dehumanizing, and I don't want to go that far.
Fair.
But I'm not going to use dehumanizing terms against other people. But I do think the player base has been broadened, and I do think it is broadened to non-gamers.
As soon as they start playing, they become a gamer of a sort.
That's true.
No, they are still theater
It's
kids.
a
That's like saying
transitive
you're-
property. If you
that-
play
but
games,
that's-
you're a gamer.
But
No, you are still a
that's
theater
like saying your
kid if you
mom's
don't
gamer
put in
because
the
she plays
effort.
Candy Crush.
Okay, what's the effort,
Hold on,
Gla?
hold
Yeah,
on,
a person who
hold
plays
on, I
Candy
can't
Crush is a computer
Okay,
gamer.
I can't hear when everyone
They play a
talks at
game I
once.
don't like,
It's a
but
phone game.
I want Caster to explain why what Radham, if it is wrong, why is what Radham's saying incorrect? Is that not just true that if someone plays a game that makes them de facto a gamer, why is that wrong? Please go ahead, Ironcaster, and then I want to get
So I had a
Juan and
whole other
Harmony in here.
idea in mind, but no, it has to do a lot with sort of this the idea of the already existing audience that was there, the people that have, I identify as a gamer, that type of person who's, they make that basically part of their identity, and then you have that meshing up against someone who will just say, oh yeah,
so people who treat gaming like a lifestyle brand.
No, that's not what he's saying.
People that treat
I was
gaming.
making a joke.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I didn't mean to be a humorless.
We can't go
Okay.
from the
We
heat to the
deadpan-
humor so quickly. I'm getting
deadpan
whiplash.
delivery.
Yeah. Go on.
A lot of what a lot of the bigger problem is, to the previous point though about the pollution, it is that always online mentality where you're always plugged into into sort of these larger the wider world. So you have all these ideas and no these ideas and no, I guess nomenclature that are just basically becoming charged in certain ways. So the idea of certain terms are politically charged, so we have to avoid saying this or that, and that's that's in turn brought back into the game. So you have people always needing you have this habit of a younger generation of people who through a combination of attention span, which we know is getting shorter thanks to the internet.
Thanks, TikTok.
It
It is the fault of TikTok.
Any responses?
Yeah, I just circle back around to what I've been repeating like nonstop this entire time, which is just don't play with those people and find people you do enjoy playing with.
Yeah, but with how much the fan base is getting larger and larger and people getting weaker and weaker and more offended, it will become harder and harder to find people that you can actually relate with and play with without them having problems with everything you think, say, or do. That is the point. People are offended by everything.
Skill issue with building a friend circle.
Well, I don't even know that I would say something like that. I don't know that I would say it's a skill issue. Sorry, go ahead.
No, there's not really a skill issue.
Rise of social issues. There are stories coming out of people talking about the lack of friendship. This is a problem that happens. There's a lot of social problems that are kind of in the tabletop space. For example, there's a widely reported little story about how there's frankly not enough DMs for the Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, but you go look at other games, you find that that's not the same kind of problem. I think it's
like what kind of games?
Like, I mean, just for example, a lot of the OSR style games, you wind up with with more game masters, more dungeon masters than players, where everyone has their own rule set they want to run.
In other words, there's no one who wants to play OSR. There's a lot of people who want to run it, but no one wants to play it. Is that what you're saying?
And there's few people that want to.
So finding someone to GM is an ongoing problem, and there's jokes about people being stuck as the forever GM. If what is that Iron there? Yeah, if what Ironcaster was saying is correct, then my explanation for that would be so GMs tend to be a bit more experienced. They tend to be, people who've been at this for a little bit longer, and tend to be people who get much more into the systems and reading the rule books. So those people are gonna, end up taking a look at other games and other systems, find things they really like and really want to play. But because D&D is so big and popular in the pop culture, there's a lot of people who want to play D&D. There's even people who think of or refer to as other RPGs as D&D, as Pontius Glor did earlier in the conversation when he
your grandmother doesn't know what Call of Cthulhu is, but she knows what Dungeons and Dragons is.
Yeah. So you're just gonna end up with lots of GMs who want to run other games and are looking for players to play in those games. There's even a Facebook group, I'm begging you to play another RPG, which is largely comprised of frustrated GMs who are I can only find people who want to play D&D. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. I think you're probably right about that, Radham. I don't know. I'm sorry. I apologize. Okay. I think you're probably right about that, because I think there are a lot of players who want to play D&D, but they don't care if it's D&D 5e. They don't care if it's D&D AD&D. They probably don't know the difference. They don't care if it's Call of Cthulhu D&D or Traveler D&D. They just want to play D&D, and it's all D&D to them. So I think there's probably a lot of that going on. But
it has been glamorized. It has been glamorized.
Sure.
To the people.
It's the Q-tip.
But I do want to go back to a point you made about who is and who isn't a gamer. I think that's a lot to do with semantics. And when I say not a gamer, I think people know what I mean. I don't mean people who don't play. I mean, people who don't play games, but then show up to their groups, show up to a D&D group. Like, yeah, we're gonna play a D&D game, and then they want to play. They want to play act. They want to improv. They want to.
Are they
So you
playing
kind
the
of
game
calling
of
back to the
D&D?
Mercer effect.
Are they
They don't care
participating
about
in the
me.
session though?
Yeah,
Then they're a gamer.
sure. So if you don't think that the word gamer should have any meaning and you want to extend it to anyone who's ever played a game before, then yes.
Yeah.
However, I
that's what it
think
means.
that all right, so they are somebody who has played a game before. I think that there is some. Do you think that there is some distinction between somebody who gets into the mechanics and really enjoys games for games and somebody who shows up to their friend's house to make their first D&D character and, oh shit, I have a thunderstorm going on, so if I get disconnected, I'm sorry. But someone who shows up to their friend's house to make their first D&D character and doesn't really want to play the game as much as engage in role play. You don't think
Yeah.
there's a difference between
No,
those
I
people?
think there's
What-
certainly a
so-
distinction, but I also
and
think
that's what
that
I'm talking
I also
about.
think you can't get to the more dedicated gamer, the more dedicated fan without at least everyone going through that first phase. Like when I was learning Magic, when I was learning 40K, I fucked up a lot, and I had to take it sort of like half seriously in order to not get super salty about it and continue on with it. You lose a lot in Magic when you're first learning, but like being able to like have someone who's willing to guide you and welcome you and say, okay, I know that you're like improving a lot, but like we do try to follow the rules in our group. Like I feel like the onus falls on the group and the DM also to kind of guide that player in, and then you go, okay, after a few sessions it's just not working out, then you tell them to leave.
So
Oh,
yeah,
saying
but what
that
you're
time
wait a
to-
second. What you're describing though is not semantics or the word gamer or the word gamer of D&D and such. What you're describing is dedication to something, and that is a thing that is missing from many of the people that pretty much roam around many of the hobbies today. If you are just, oh yeah, I am a gamer, what do you play? Just Call of Duty. Yeah, no, you are not a fucking gamer. You
Yeah,
just
you
play
are.
the shitty
It's
trend
okay
game
to be a
that is
casual
there.
player and a casual gamer. Like it's
Yeah,
fine
but that
to,
makes you a
like,
casual
Nobody's
player, a
saying
casual
casual
gamer,
about
it.
not a real
Yeah, that's
gamer and a
fine.
real
There's,
player.
there's nothing
There
wrong.
is a
No,
distinction.
Casual players and casual
Yeah, but-
gamers are real players and gamers.
Yeah, no,
Nobody-
there is a
Casual
distinction.
and
They are
hardcore.
not real.
Hold on, one
No,
at a time. One at a time. Radham, finish your point. Then we go to Harmony.
So-
and then, yeah.
I'd say the distinction would be casual and hardcore, not gamer and non-gamer.
Then there is a distinction. It is not
Sure.
everybody that plays a game is a gamer. Everybody that plays D&D is a D&D
Not
player.
everyone is a
Hold on,
hardcore gamer.
Hold on. Let me ask
Casual
you
gamers
directly.
are still gamers.
Radham, let me ask you directly.
Yeah.
Do you think that it is good? Is it better or worse for the hobby as a whole to have more casual gamers or more hardcore gamers? If you were in charge of Dungeons and Dragons and you could flip a switch, and the people who play are all casual versus the people who play are all hardcore, which setting would you put the switch at?
It's not an either or. There always has been and always will be a mix. There might be more casual gamers now. Some of those casual gamers will become more hardcore over time. I don't see a problem with people who are more casual about it. I've played in games with people who have a basic grasp on the rules, but are really into their getting into character role playing. They're a lot of fun to play with.
Is it a
I've
problem
played
if they
games
don't
with
want to
people who
to
don't
get
like
better
the
at
role
rules,
playing
though?
but really like rolling the dice. No, it's not a problem to want to get better at the
No,
rules.
no. What I said was, is it a problem if you have a player, right, who they want to engage with the theatrics of it, but they don't want to learn the rules? At session
that's the problem.
24, you're still having to help them figure out what spells they have.
In my game, that's a problem.
I think there's limits.
I'd say it depends on the game system.
Yeah.
In D&D, I would say yes, it's a problem because each level that you go up, there's a increasing amount of complexity that you're dealing with. In other more narrative-based game systems, it's not as much of an issue.
So what I was saying, and I was saying we're kind of fighting about the semantics here. I guess if you want me to concede the language to you, I'm talking about casual versus hardcore then, or gamer versus non-gamer. I don't, there is nothing wrong with being a casual gamer. I'm not saying that. I have never said that. However, I think that WOTC, to bring it back to the to the subject of the debate, I think that WOTC should be catering towards people that care about the game, that care about getting together with their friends or wearing a D&D brand or who don't actually care about the game part of the game. I think WOTC should be catering towards people who like the game for the game. That is what I'm talking about.
I think that it's important to keep in mind we all started as casual gamers. Everyone started pretty casually, and also
No, I was born from the womb rolling dice
and
and
also-
moving my figures.
Let me
okay?
reiterate. I think there is a
I'm
difference
not-
between a new player and a casual gamer, and I don't think there's
Oh,
anything wrong
okay.
with being a casual gamer.
Okay.
I think there's nothing wrong with being new. There's nothing wrong with being casual. That is not what I said. But I do think
didn't
that
say that's
WOTC,
what you said, but I thank you for the clarification.
You know what, JC? I apologize. I got a little too harsh there.
I
Say
think that it's,
sorry to these.
yeah, don't say
fools.
sorry to
what
me.
Are you doing?
No, I'm kidding.
But see, I like JC. He's had very reasonable takes this whole time.
Well, thank you. So I'll get out my unreasonable ones for the rest of it. No, I'm kidding.
Okay, yeah.
So I think it's important to keep in mind that like pretty much everybody approaches everything from a fresh perspective, whether you're a casual or a new player. Is that a more fair way to say it? And that like I think that it is really, really. I don't think the expectation should be. We can't all be as blessed as Whick. We can't all be born to roll dice.
But hold on, here's the thing, JC, and this is where I'll take issue with your take here. Like, it's fine to be new. There's nothing wrong with being new. You don't know the rules yet. You don't know the style yet. You don't know how it works yet. That's fine. The problem comes when you refuse to improve. And I think that the hobby itself, the rules, the systems should be designed to take new players, newbies, if you will, and turn them into hardcore players, if we're going to use this weird terminology here, and that's fine, right? That should be designed by default to gatekeep those who want to just stay new players forever out. And it should be a funnel to keep people who want to improve in. Because while, yes, none of us are ever going to be perfect as a gamer, except for me, you want that to be the ideal. You want that to be what, like the guiding star, your North Star, if you will, to be moving forward and moving towards. Because if you are okay with never improving, then you are going to stagnate and become worse as a whole. That is my point.
I think that if your play group has less of a focus on strictly following the rules and more of a focus on narrative building and house ruling things when appropriate, then it's not an issue. If you like I've seen like you talk about your D&D group, and I would say for you, like it's definitely a standard that you establish that like you need to know how to play the game, like you need to learn your stuff. I'm not going to like walk you through it.
To know how to play the game.
Sure. Well, sure.
Yes.
But I think that if there's a DM or GM, whichever, if you know the leader of the group is like, you know, there is a rule book. We're going to sort of loosely follow it. But like for the most part, I'm just here to hang out with you guys. We're creating a story together.
They're not playing D&D then.
I agree.
Even if you have the book open in front of you.
If they're using the base scaffold of the rules, they are.
Yeah, they are. Just because they're not following everything rigidly to the book doesn't mean they're not playing. They're not playing your version of D&D, but they're not playing D&D. Or they're playing D&D.
Well, then if I'm playing a version with lighter rule of Dark Heresy, does that mean I'm playing D&D?
I guess
40K?
How many rules are we able to house rule in or out from D&D until it stops being D&D?
I mean, that's
Sisyphus' role-playing game. Sorry, not Sisyphus. Fuck, I mixed up my mythos.
Sisyphus ship. But like at a certain point, if you and your friends are getting around and you're pretending to be elves and dwarves and halflings and you're not really using the rules, you're not playing D&D, and it's okay to not play D&D. It's okay to like get around and play improv. That's fine. But
I think this is a problem that goes back to simplification of the system and the simplification even of the same universe D&D and even Magic in this case takes place in. The easier you make it to come in, the better it could be for the player base, but it depends also from the dedication you get from the player base. To put it simply in words I think I can understand better to give a better example, is that one time when I made my video on the retcon of the female custodians in 40k, and there was a guy in the comments going, oh yeah, but a custodian fucked a Tau woman, so they can have females, it's not that big of a retcon. So a person that was never into 40k, a person that didn't know shit about the lore, came to me, probably one of the biggest people fixated on the fucking lore in the world, and quoted to me an episode of If the Emperor a text-to-speech device as official lore.
That is official
just because,
lore.
just to make his fucking
topic,
point.
please?
So what I'm trying to say
I'll
is
stay
that
on
you
topic.
need.
Law, you don't have to play with that person, okay?
Hold on,
I will
hold
not
on, no,
make
I
you
wanna-
play with that
hold
person.
Hold on. I want to hear where Pontius is going with this. Land your plane, please.
What I'm trying to say is that you don't need to simplify your system or your universe too much to make it appeal to a broader audience, because at that point you just start attracting people that use it more as a trend and come in this case, as it was mentioned, theater kids that don't really want to improve or learn D&D, don't want to learn how to play the game they are interested in, but are more there for the role play. There is nothing wrong with it. But then you are not a D&D player. You are not there to improve. And if you keep simplifying the game, you not only piss off the core audience in this case, because many of the core fans of D&D are pissed off with how simplified 5th edition is. You can like it, but people are pissed off about it. All the while, the people that are coming in don't even have the decency for the older player to learn it, because they simply use it as a trend. There is a level of which, if you simplify it, you remove in this case the side of gatekeeping of what you are trying to make. You should always keep in mind when you make something that you are aiming at your core audience, in this case the hardcore gamers, not really for the story but for the rules. If you keep simplifying it to the point we are now, where it is so simple that people are going back to 3.5, people get pissed off, and the people that come in don't even want to learn it because it has been glamorized as a more a style of life game than really a game.
An aesthetic. You play it because you want to tell people you play D&D.
Yeah, pretty much that.
I
And
have
what if you join
never
because of
encountered
that,
anyone
and
like
you
that.
enjoy it?
There's a
Like,
difference.
I
with-
feel like we're
Hold on,
constructing
hold on,
straw men here.
Hold on. I want to let Red Hom go, but I'm looking at the time, and I want to get some call-ins. So I'm going to let Red Hom respond, and then we're going to have closing statements. Then I want to get to a little bit of call-ins for like 10, 20 minutes. Is that okay with everyone? Is that cool?
Sure thing.
I don't know if my internet's going to hold out.
If it doesn't, it doesn't,
Okay.
right? But we'll
All right.
take the ones we can,
Well,
okay?
We'll put in a word
But
with my
Radham,
dad.
finish your point, then we're going to close it out.
Yeah, I feel like there's a straw man there. Also, all of the theater kids that I've known, myself included, who've gotten into roleplay games, have put in the effort to fucking learn the rules of the game that we're playing. So it's not like, you know, someone who enjoys role-playing as their prime motivator is necessarily not going to learn the rules. As
It was
we're
not my
about to
point,
wrap
but
up, there's
okay.
one more thing that I want to throw in here, which is that D&D is actually, in my honest opinion, a mid-game for first-time role players. There are other games that have systems that are easier to wrap your head around, where you don't have like multiple entire fucking tomes that you're like, okay, how does all of this shit work? Why do I need all of these stat blocks? Blah blah bullshit. It is okay for the game to be accessible. It is okay for players to be casual. It is okay for players to be hardcore, and there's not some neat fucking clear delineation between the two.
Yes, fair, I agree, but also the company should always aim to make the rules and changes for the hardcore players, because they are the ones they are aimed at, not the casual players.
Okay.
No, they should make the rules and changes for the player base as a whole.
And with that, gang, we have had a robust discussion. It has been very fun. I have enjoyed it, at least, which is the only thing that matters. And thank you, one and all, for your contributions. Thank you to my donos. That's been very generous today. Give me more. I could use more money. If you like the stream, if you like this kind of content, hit that like and subscribe button. We're going to do more of these kind of nerd debates. I like them. I want to branch up. We've had a great week. We did our politics show yesterday. That was amazingly successful, right? We debated the Trump trial with Pisco, Rob Noor, Lactoid.
Yes.
Monday, we had our gender war panel with Xerxes, Cham. Excellent show. Really enjoyed it. Tomorrow at 6 p.m. Eastern, I'm going to be hosting a call-in show with Danielle. Daniela, let's get the name right. One moment, please. Daniela Pensac. She's a political operative on the right, interestingly enough. So it'll be fun to talk to her. So it'll be a call-in show, so you can call in. But what we're going to do now is we're going to have closing statements. All these wonderful individuals will be able to tell you what their final thoughts on the subject are, as well as where you can find them. And I've listed in the YouTube description, I've listed a link to all their info. So you, it's under the guest section. You click on their link, and please give them a follow, give them a subscribe. They've sacrificed their time to come yell at each other on my show, and I appreciate that. And I want to make sure to get them back. So go to that, make sure you give them a follow and give them some love there. And after that, briefly, we're going to go to call in. So if you want to call in, join the Discord. I'll provide the link in chat while they're doing their thing. You click the link, you accept the rules. I'll pull you in. You jump backstage, and I'll pull you into the main show briefly. We're going to start in the reverse order we started, and I forget the order. But we're going to start with Harmony. We're going to end with Claw. Harmony, go.
Which is correct because I was the first. So
There you go.
I don't know about me, but I think in closing that it is very important for a company like WOTC to be aiming their new releases at their core audience. I think my main point here was the drop in quality that we've had in the past. It's been a long time, but we're going to say the past 3 or 4 years have been fairly pronounced. But I think that that's my main point here, and yeah, my socials are down below, so I don't need to show myself anymore. But yeah, that's my closing statement.
Okay. Really appreciate you being here. Give her a
Thank
follow,
you.
gang. She's blowing up. She's got some great videos. Check her out. Ironcaster, what do you got?
The larger issue is I think it's a kind of bit of a twofold issue of an oncoming player base of recent fresher players from that are kind of butting up against sort of the older players, where it's one thing to not necessarily know how the rules are played, but over time it should be an expectation that they should try to acclimate themselves to the rule set. And then you have the issue of the quality control, the quality control, where you have the deck of many things that had come out, and they had issues with the cutting on it. A company that's known for trading cards couldn't make cards, with more and more emphasis going into the diversity consultants, the cultural consultants. And as a result, sort of taken time, money, people that could jobs that could have gone towards putting out better products. It's a bit of a twofold issue ultimately, that is kind of causing harm to what should be what is ultimately the face of the hobby. Yeah, check me out below. Yeah, I talk comics, I talk big robots on my own channel. I'm all over the place, and yeah, check me out. Twitter at the Ironcaster. My YouTube is just the Ironcaster, and yeah, check me out.
No, do it, gang. I put his links below. Give him some love. Give him some follow. Thank you so much for being on my show. Hope it didn't scare you off. Next up, Radhom. Give us what you got.
Well, Wizards of the Coast is a company like any other. They've made missteps. They've done good things on the whole. I think that they've been reasonably good stewards of D&D and Magic the Gathering. And when they do fuck up, as I said in my intro, people turn to other, in my opinion, better RPGs. So when they go well, more people come into the hobby. When they go badly, people leave D&D but stay in the hobby and play more interesting games. These are both good things.
Where can people find you?
Oh, Real Radhom, REALRADHOM, basically everywhere.
Okay, check him out, gang. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate you. Gang, he's got perhaps the best mustache I've ever seen, okay? So give him a follow just for that. Yeah, thanks for being here. Next up, the big JC. Give us what you got.
How about that? Yeah, so there was a lot less Magic Chat than I was maybe expecting. Did focus a lot more on D&D. Yeah, sorry, Hunt. I think we're out of luck on that one. But with regards to the D&D stuff, I think that there was a lot of time spent on this panel, an undue amount of time obsessing over what is and isn't a D&D player, what is and isn't a gamer, like all of these times, like being super purist. And I think generally speaking, D&D is a social experience. You should find a group of people you like hanging out with, whether you all like to rigidly stick to the rules or whether you like to just sort of, wing it and just kind of have fun with your friends. I think that your enjoyment of that social experience with the D&D medium is still valid. I think that everybody should put more focus on finding groups that they can play with in ways that they enjoy and have the conversations that need to be had in order to make sure that those groups are ones that you want to be in. As for my linkies, I'm the Big JC at the Big JC Lives on Twitter, at the Big JC on YouTube, and then at the Big JC on Kick. I stream once a week on YouTube and Kick, and I usually announce like the day that I'm streaming because it depends on what my day off is that week. I usually announce it on my Twitter on Sundays.
Thank you for being here. I really appreciate you, and always a pleasure. Thank you. Give him a follow, gang. He's been great. Next up, Hunt, please.
Yeah. So like JC said, wasn't able to add too much about D&D, but with Magic. But yeah, no, I think Wizards has been a great steward of Magic for sure. The product's never been in a more explosive place that's had this insane amount of growth and everything, especially when it almost died going through COVID. And it sounds like all these D&D complaints are just complaints of a hobby growing and of just any hobby growing, not Wizards specifically. And also with DMs, you kind of have the ability to kind of, make people go away if you want them to. So I don't know, it kind of sounds like a gatekeeping issue.
Which is based. Gatekeeping is based.
Thank you.
So just tell them go away from my table. Don't bitch about it for an hour.
Thank you for being here, Hunt. I really appreciate you. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you. Last but certainly not least, Pontius Claw. What do you got?
I think that the mentality that bigger is better, more people is better, unless you are technically speaking only in a hobby that can be beneficial with more people, like in this case Magic or even Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Pokemon cards and such, is a very consumerist kind of mentality to have. Bigger doesn't equal better, newer doesn't equal better, simpler or even more complicated doesn't equal better. It depends from case to case. I think the main complaint I have with the direction WOTC is going, not really with Magic, because I'm not a Magic player, even if I do have complaints about their cards, mostly with D&D, is that they are making things so simple that people think they can simply jump in the game, start role-playing, and everything falls behind that. There is no mechanics, there is no game behind that. It is pretty much being glamorized as a style of life, as a skin you can wear. And I think that is disrespectful from the company, not really from the players, for the players that have spent a lot of time learning and using your systems for their games. Now, you can do homebrew, obviously. You don't have to stick with their systems forever. And as Radom said, there are better versions, like the ones I play, like 40k Dark Heresy, that are better than D&D in general. But I think that if you come into an hobby in general being lore related, story related, or rules related, or even game related, you need to put in the effort to be able to call yourself part of that hobby, a gamer or a D&D player. You cannot just simply jump in, oh yeah, I like D&D, and you are a D&D player, or in this case, an hardcore D&D player, if we want to be pedantic. But in general, D&D player, even being casual, is better than using it just as a skin you can wear. Other than that, you can find me on Facebook on Warhammer 40k Heresy Posting, my own group, and on YouTube at ThePontius69, that is the tag of the channel, but just the channel ThePontius, where I discuss 40k lore and try to shed light on mysteries of 40k lore that nobody else has even touched, like the missing Primarchs, or in my most recent video, even the Capo Dominus. So
check him out, gang. I really appreciate you being here, and thank you once again. Gang, once again, please, if you like this content, give me your money. You could spend your money on your family, on your friends. No, don't do that. They are weak. They will fail you. Whick is forever. Whick will be there 3 to 5 times a week. to give you content. Gang, if you want to call in, we have some callers right now, but if you want to call in, hit that Discord link. Jump in, accept the rules, jump backstage. I'll pull you in. We'll get to as many as we can before I get bored. So here we go. Let's bring in the first guest, see what they have to say. You are live in Pursuit of Knowledge. What do you got?
Hello. How's it going? Can you hear
You're
me?
here. What do you got? Yep.
Yeah, I wanted to give a general observation and 2 questions. General observation really seems that it's about gatekeeping and about, I can see the political affiliations of every panelist here. It's really interesting to see from the super conservative Italiano, who's trying to gatekeep
Not really
everything.
conservative.
Okay, you can interrupt if you want, but this is
No.
it's very obvious. And all the way to the super left where you have Mustache Man who wants to keep everything open.
Oh,
You have muted yourself.
you muted yourself.
Beautiful. Okay. Thank you for the Wheezy Pillar. Thank you for the $10. Money for Whick. Great job, Danny and Jason.
Keep an eye on the left
There you
downside.
go.
Oh, I think he's back.
The tactical
Okay.
self-mute.
Finish your thought, and then we'll
Yeah,
let people
so
respond.
2 questions. First question is, Ironcaster, can you show us your Indian card? We'll give you a minute to go get that. Because you did say you had that, right?
Oh, I have it on me.
Okay,
Yes.
excellent.
That's me.
Hold on.
then-
If it has your name, don't play. Don't.
Yeah, you don't have to show your
Yeah,
name.
that's the thing. I'm like, I don't want to. I don't want to
Yeah,
go
don't
give
do
you
that.
too
No,
much,
we're not
but-
gonna do that on the stream. What's your second question, buddy?
Hunt, what was the native species or humanoids or whatever of Thunder Junction?
Yeah, there was the cactus, like something other, cactus people, something like that. There was a sentient native race.
Those are the
And-
natives of Thunder Junction.
Yeah. And there was also the like Billy the Kid planeswalker stand-in that wasn't completely native, but they made her come there early or something like that to make her a tokenized native for the story.
This is a hilarious thing about leftist progressive ideology. You really want to, the topic at hand is if wizards go woke, it's hilarious to have to shoehorn all these ideologies into a storyline about a children's collectible card game. I do appreciate the communists really trying to do that because it's
My point was that they didn't go in on that.
It's interesting to just show yourselves like this.
My point was that they didn't go in on that theme and they just left it there kind of unspoken, kind of almost mocking it.
Yeah, probably because natives are tired of having their history being used as a tool of oppression. What about the future? Why can't we talk about natives in today's world? Why can't we just talk about what they've done before and not just talk about the the atrocities of the Trail of Tears? They're more than just their tragedy. It's gross. It's gross.
I do agree with that. Actually, I do agree.
Which is why I said they're only brought up and only made relevant with the greater with the greater the conversation around Columbus Day and Thanksgiving.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
Thank you, in Pursuit of Knowledge, for saving the indigenous race. I really appreciate
Hey,
you.
that's what I tried to do.
Thank you. I'm
They are
sure that
actually
they'll send you
cactus
thank
folk.
you cards. Does anyone have a response to anything he said? Otherwise, we're just gonna kick him out.
I guess one clarification. So I want to make sure I brought up that point to say they aren't being woke because they did display those things, but they didn't actually talk on it or hit on it or anything like that. So sure that's clear.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were you raising your hand because you had something to say, Harmony, or was that a hand waving him away?
I was saying
Bye. Okay. Bye.
That's all.
That's all.
Bye-bye.
Gang, we're again open on callers. If you want to call in, now's your chance. Do you want to talk to any of these lovely people?
Where's
Come on, you guys
Eldrazi to
are all-
yell at me?
You all were willing to give me money. And then you don't have to give me money to come on. You can do it for free. And you're throwing hundreds of dollars at me to speak your piece. And now you have the chance to say your piece live on air in 4K. Well, I don't think we're 4K here. But, right? Like
Free? Wick, that's socialism. How dare you?
I know, it's
Can I-
crazy.
Kind of Radham, that looks really good, by the way.
Thank you.
What
There's
is
just
that?
a little speed paint. I found
I
it's
like
a little
the-
kind of Egyptian wizard miniature. Seemed thematically appropriate.
Neat.
Yeah, I like it.
Okay.
It looks like it needs a little. It looks like it needs just a little dash of purple for
Ooh.
an accent for. An
I was
accenting
wondering
color.
what to do as my splash color. I think purple's a good idea. Thank you.
It's a good
we
comp-
love
Speaking of
that.
purple, this is the
Oh,
guy that I was painting last time we had a discussion. Got a little bit more paint done on him.
Nice.
It's almost finished.
Oh wait, what else was the purple? I don't remember.
That's the female house glow.
No, I doubt it.
I'm not certain. I'm not certain which shield host it is. I just like purple, and purple, gold, and blue go well together.
Oh yeah. No, I don't think it is a shield. Also, I would have recognized it most probably. But yeah, it
Okay.
looks good.
Well, you know what,
Thank
gang?
you.
I guess no one wants to talk to you. Thank you for the money. Thank you for the time.
Thanks for hosting us, Whick.
And
Yeah, for
I am sure I will be contacting all of you at some point in the future. Thank you again. We're going to raid out. Who's streaming right now? Are you going to keep streaming,
am.
Red Hum?
Yeah. I mean, it's like 10 a.m. here. I've got a couple hours in me.
Okay,
It's
we
2
will-
a.m. on me.
We will do him on Twitch, and let's see who's going on YouTube. I've been trying to do more where I raid out on YouTube as well. I keep forgetting that.
I didn't know you could. I'm
You
gonna be
can.
honest.
It's not a very easy process. Someone had to walk me through. You have to go
Yeah,
to the
they gotta make sure
edit,
they
and you
have
have
it
to go to
enabled.
the redirect.
Why
So
would YouTube make
who
it
do we-
easy?
I don't know, man. Give it a second.
Gotta have as many complicated steps as possible.
Okay.
click the bell to
we
make sure.
we
make
can go
sure
to
you got all
Stardust. We
notifications.
can go to Prime Kai. We can go to Kamal has like a ton. Elder Drazi.
Oh, get Elder
you know what?
Drazi.
Let's go.
Yeah,
well,
Eldrazi's a good guy.
Well,
Yeah.
those are all
He was supposed to
upcoming.
come yell at me.
Yeah, I don't know when upcoming. That's a problem, right? And I don't want to send you something that's going to happen tomorrow. Prime Kai is actually live right now,
Ooh.
so we'll go to him.
Get Prime Kai.
Yeah. Okay, and with that, wave bye-bye, kings and queens.
Bye.
Bye.
Farewell.
Don't stop. We're not rated out yet. We got 8 seconds. You can do it. I know 8 seconds is a long
time.
time, but you can do it. We have two more
The
seconds,
problem of
one more
having a
second.
cam.
Let's go.
Jazz hands.
He's been lying. We've been off for like
You
the
need
last
to get
30
yourself
minutes.
a VTuber rig.
Okay, we're done. We're done.
Cool.
Thanks for the chat, everybody.
No, it was fun. It was fun. Yeah. What
And thank
did
you for the
guys
raid,
think?
Wick.
No problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
What did you
was-
guys think? Did
Yeah,
you
I play
like it?
Magic in
Was it good?
40K. Sorry, I don't know much about D&D.
That's
I'm
okay.
sorry, I didn't mean to take it all to D&D. I don't play Magic.
No,
so
that's
I wasn't
good. The
gonna
last
be
time I
on
played
that,
D&D was in
so.
high school, and we played AD&D 2 with
Okay.
old books
Oh,
that his
that's
dad had in
great.
the basement. So
That's awesome.
all of
I-
my information
sorry
is
we
way
didn't-
outdated.
I'm just sorry we didn't get
Also,
the,
the
get to bring up
conversation
feedback.
felt like it flowed quite naturally. I'm gonna jump off the call. Have yourselves a beautiful day.
Peace out, Girl
Take
Scout.
care.
Good to meet you.
Okay.
Bye.
Yeah,
Right.
I've been trying to do more like gaming hobby stuff. I just enjoy it more.
Me too.
I guess it's weird though because I don't get as many views, but I got more money today, and so I don't know what to think about that. So
How much of it was just
I
that
think-
$100 dono?
well, that helped, but even without that, I got plenty of money. So
See, what I
Well,
think it
if-
is because you're getting into a hobby where people tend to have disposable money.
Yeah, luxury goods.
We spend money on expensive cardboard.
I was
going
gonna
to
say I spent money on models. I don't have money.
Well, if
I
you,
mean-
if you ever need a 40k expert on, you have me. So
I
Hey, I
absolutely
resent
will
you
tap
not you
again.
saying my
I
lore
wanna-
knowledge is bad. Glow.
Yeah, I want to get you and counterpoints in a room again. I think that would be
Face.
interesting.
Yeah.
Counterpoint 40k is really cool.
oh,
guy.
but you imagine he's a good guy. He's very funny also. So
Yeah,
I,
like Artcast is someone I tried, but I don't think he wants to go on. The
Wait,
show.
Arch? Oh God,
think he
I
wants
would
to go on
love to
my
talk. I would pay you to talk
I
to
know,
Arch if you could
I
get
know,
him.
No, he's
I
funny.
know, but
I was in a podcast with Arch once.
I'm sorry.
It's
I
okay.
know who that is.
Mm.
Pontius, it was really great to meet you. I actually really like you. I would like talking to you, but I don't think we will ever overlap again.
Oh, shame.
Because you're a
We'll
40k
get on a
guy.
t-shirt.
Yeah.
That would
But,
be
I mean,
fun.
I-
Give him
I-
a
I-
big-
Oh yes.
What?
One of the like 35 streams I apparently do during the week
Yeah.
is on with T-shirted Historian, and
Oh, he's a
we do
good
a show
guy.
called The Week in Geek. And one of the co-panelists on there is was it